Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. How are you all doing? Just going to take a quick second to make sure Rumble's up. I think it's up. Make sure. There it is. Yep. We're up. I'm in my own ear here. Well, thank you all very much. It's Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. We got Chris Dacey today. We had Alex Cabana yesterday, advocate, a veteran advocate. And today we have Chris Dacey, a street advocate. So welcome to Advocate Week. Where we're going to be speaking to the people who get out there, get the messages out there, and fight for us. Without advocates, we don't have much of a democracy because, well, how do you tell the government they're not doing things right, or you have a problem with what they're doing, or you have a new need, or there's something that you need to address? How do you do that if you don't have advocacy? You really don't. So people like Chris and I just lost his name, Alex. For some reason, I lost Alex's name for a second. So people like Alex and Chris, these are the people who make democracy work. There's a lot of people out there that will say, we don't need these protesters. We don't need these advocates. We don't need these people out there fighting for us. Yes, we do, all sides. And what we end up with is conversation. Sometimes we end up with an issue to deal with. And we're going to find out from Chris, because we heard a lot of this from Alex yesterday, how dangerous this really is, like how sincerely dangerous this can be. I was shocked with what Alex had to share with us about protecting the guys from Save Canada. Now we're going to get it from Chris, like who's always there. And is it really that dangerous? We're about to find out. And has Chris been hurt? Has other people been hurt? We're about to find out. Holy smokes. I got to say hello to Facebook here. You guys are growing really, really fast. So thank you for everybody that's sharing and bringing their friends and telling them about this. So thank you all for that. Let me double check here. Yep. Rumble's good to go. Twitter's good to go. So can you imagine a world without an ability to tell the government that you disagree with something or you need something? How would that work? You just wait for them to guess that you need something? Maybe the science would take care of all of that for you. I wouldn't want to live like that. And what do you do when things are going well and then somebody wants to stop it, right? Let's say we're doing things good and then somebody says, let's change this and go a different direction. You want to be advocating for what you need there too. So conservative, liberal, otherwise, there's advocates everywhere. Now, why are they super important to our democracy? Who's got the courage to stand up to your government? What if they're doing things you don't need, want? They're taking advantage of, harming you, others? Do you really care? And if you do, then you will actually put a hat on, put your shoes on, and get out there and do something about it. And this is what Chris does. And if we didn't have that, would it be a democracy anymore? Because that is a part of the functioning of democracy, to be able to have feedback and let the government hear you. Now, what happens when the government goes too far and just refuses to hear you? Well, we saw what happened with the convoy. They come back and hurt you. They come back and stop you. They come up with rules. They come up with restrictions. You can't do this anymore. So we have to have an advocacy on advocacy. What a weird thing to be stuck with. We need to advocate for avocation. That's a weird world we live in now. And it's not even fairly applied. You have certain groups who are violent and really, really destructive. They're being listened to and they're getting their way. And then you have another group that comes in non-violent, just very large and very loud, but not being listened to. So now we're kind of in a crossroads here. What kind of Canada do we have? One that will listen to the people, or one that will boot them down if the message that they have isn't in line with what the government's currently doing? In other words, how do you have advocacy? So we're going to talk to another brave soul who's out there putting himself on the line, using his time, his energy, his resources. He could probably be doing something else, make a bunch of money at it even, but he's out there fighting for us. So when you see these red hats and you see Save Canada, you should be thinking hero, not instigator or fighter or something like that. He's a hero. So let's go ahead and chat with him. Hey, Chris, I think you're ready. I'm waiting for a sip. No sip. Oh, you're in. Oh, so close, so close. But
yeah, next time.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. Where are you right now? You in Ottawa?
Yeah, I'm in Ottawa at the moment. Yeah, I'm in Ottawa most of the time. So I'm local to Ottawa. I was born and raised here, so I've lived in and around Ottawa my whole life.
Really? So you didn't even leave for a little period of time? You could basically been there the whole
I
time?
got out a few times. Like, I mean, I've left for a
Got out.
weekend. I got out like to arm prior kind of for a little while, like
You call that
kind of
getting
after
out?
Rolling
Isn't that
Thunder. But
just
no, I
out?
never went really far. I was like
Okay.
stayed right in the middle of everything, even after everyone cleared out. And there wasn't really like after the convoy left, there was a big vacuum here, right? Like everyone was gone, and I was living downtown at the time, so I was right in the middle of like I was sealed in by police lines, so I just kept going out and I never stopped.
That's very cool. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of back you up before you became an advocate. So now we know you lived and you were born in Ottawa and you had all your school there. You went to Armprior, which is it's just down the road, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't too far. Yeah, I was close enough that I was out of the like I had to get away for a bit. I've had to do that a few times. You stay in the middle of this, it starts to drag sometimes. But I just needed to get away, but I wanted to be close, right? So I could still come in pretty quickly, and so it worked out. Gave me a little break and let me recharge and refocus a bit.
Very cool. Very cool. So let me ask you, when was the first time you became an advocate or a protester or something like that? When was the first time? And then why? Was it because there was some sort of
Yeah.
event that you saw and you said, I want to protest that? Or did you just get wrapped up in a crowd of people of like minds and they were doing it? Kind of how did you first get involved?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess I would say I've been kind of politically inclined. Like, I mean, I've been paying attention to stuff for quite a long time. Like,
Okay.
I'm a carpenter. I was self-employed most of my life. Had a daughter young, so I mean, kind of politics and what was going on in the world started to matter quite a bit.
All right. So you
And
had
things were changing.
responsibility.
Yeah,
You had,
yeah, and
you had,
like in Ontario, running a business in Ontario, like the whole time under Win, like every year got harder, every year got more expensive. I was noticing these things, and I kind of always spoke my mind. But before, no one was listening. I didn't really have a following, or no one was listening to me. During the convoy, I went out and started filming, and I kind of caught a bit of a wave there, and suddenly I had a voice that people
yeah,
were listening to. So I'm kind of it's evolved, but I think I've been kind of this mindset and doing this kind of thing or trying to for a while. Just all of a sudden, I had the timing and the ability and the reach to really do something with it, and I just ran with it, man. Wasn't
that's
really planned. Wasn't really expecting it to turn into what it's turning into at all. I just felt like I needed to be out there and I needed to be showing what was going on. And
so.
particularly when all the groups of people had left and it was only me, that's what really got me driving it. And for a while, I was kind of the only one down here filming for quite a while. So
Yeah, we'll get more into the convoy and what you end up doing there. But before the convoy, did you do any other advocacy? Was there any other
not
things you're
not
involved in?
not specifically, really. I mean, no, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I'd share, I give my opinion and stuff, but I wasn't out. Prior to, I guess during lockdowns, I started getting a little squirrely. Like I would go out and I'd go, but before the convoy even, I'd go up by Parliament Hill and I'd bring my flag. Sometimes I could get on, sometimes I couldn't. It was a weird scene. But like I was kind of in this position where I didn't know what the heck to do or how to fight, what I could do to fight. And then suddenly I was given the ability and a bit of a voice to do it. So
Right. So that's when the convoy came in. So
yeah.
before the convoy came in, you were getting frustrated with mandates, facts, masks,
Oh
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah, everything. Yeah, it was yeah, it was a pretty wild time. Like I ended up in a little tiny place downtown Ottawa. I'm not really a big downtown guy. I prefer to be in the outskirts of town or whatever. And I was just in a little tiny place downtown. Everything was shut down. My business was shut down. You'd go out literally. You could walk into the middle of the street in downtown Ottawa, in the middle of the day, and just walk into the street. There was like a ghost town. It was so bizarre, so bizarre, and I just couldn't get used to it. Like no matter what, I couldn't get used to it. And then I ended up basically kind of stuck there for a year before the convoy came in. Like everything closed around me. Only things open were the marijuana store and the booze store.
Yeah, it's funny how they kept those open, but not
Couldn't
the
even get
gym.
food after 5 o'clock. Like it was wild around here.
Wow, yes, for sure. Now, when the convoy started, did you get wind of it, and were you paying attention to the stuff at that time,
Yeah,
like
as
before it
soon
came
as
to
I
town?
saw it, yeah, as soon as I started seeing that it driving across the country, like I was pretty pumped. Like a lot of people, I was watching the feeds and seeing the people on the overpasses and waving. And man, I was more than ready when it got here. So like I was out the Thursday night before it arrived. The Friday when they finally right before they closed Wellington, I managed to get through with a vehicle, drove through and took some video and stuff, and then yeah, I was 100% ready to go when they got here. I was already waiting.
So were you listening to Zilio and that kind of thing? Like you're paying attention
Yeah,
to the
yeah, I was
competition?
just yeah. Well, I was some of the channels there, and then just watching on Facebook or wherever, social media. There's so much video and so much different stuff coming across. People were so excited. So it was pretty inspiring time.
So at this time, were you advocating at all? Were you posting messages of support? Were you doing anything along those lines?
Not really. I mean, I was kind of just sharing the stuff that was coming across. But
It's kind of the
what
same
really
thing.
got yeah, sharing, and I mean, so at least people in my sphere at the time would have known.
Hmm.
Pretty quickly too, like throughout that, you kind of I had kind of connected with some like-minded people. You could see who out of your friend group was of the same mind through this, pretty quickly. So what really got me out though, like as far as advocacy, it was the talk about the desecration at the memorial and at Terry Fox. That's what really irked me because that's the
So were
place
you?
that since I've been downtown, like I go for a walk every day. I've got some body problems. It helps me to get up and move.
Mhm.
So I go by the memorial almost every day, or I did back then, on my walk. And to hear them saying that it had been desecrated, just no, no. So I took my camera, I just went out, and that was the first place I went. And first interview I did, I had actually had broke my cell phone. So I only had a forward facing camera, so I just turned it on me and started talking, and that's how it all really started at the memorial for me. So
So were you expecting to see a desecration then?
no, not at all. I was expecting to see exactly what I. When I got there, there was a guy who had showed up with like a rucksack and a prayer mat and a drum, and he'd been there. I mean, all night already. He stayed for like 60 hours straight till more people came, and then they started taking shifts and whatnot. But yeah, it was beautiful. It was immaculate, beautiful, like it always is. Same with Terry Fox. Um,
Yeah.
so, and but that was, I guess, the Saturday by then. So like there was already crowds gathering. It was a pretty amazing atmosphere, and I just rolled with it. And I was lucky. I had a place close downtown, right, kind of in the middle of it, so I could go home and charge up batteries and warm up a little bit, and then go back out. And I was able to go out at night and help quite a bit too. So during the day, I kind of film and do stuff, and at night, I'd go out and do more on the ground type logistical help, around my
Mm.
area or whatever. Because there was a ton to do to keep
So you
that
were
thing
there the
moving.
Saturday when they rolled in, of course. So you saw them come
Yeah,
in. So what was your position on all those Nazi flags that you saw everywhere?
yeah, I didn't see one ever. So
Not even one?
none, zero, zero. Yeah.
Well,
I
that's not what
was there
we're
the
told.
day the Confederate flag popped up one day, but I didn't see it personally, but they dealt with that almost immediately, and that was gone. But I never saw any like, man, I saw tens of thousands of flags probably over all that time.
Mhm.
Never once saw an offensive flag.
So you saw a lot of Canadian flags. You saw the F. Trudeau flag. You even saw some
Yeah,
Pride Canadian flags, but you didn't see a Nazi flag.
no, no, not once. Just the one picture that ever surfaced there that was by the Chateau Laurier, but yeah, it's the only one I ever saw, and I got banned for sharing it too. Story
Did
about
you
it.
really?
Yeah, yeah,
Did
yeah.
you really?
Well,
I know.
Rebel News was able to kind of find out where that picture was taken from, and it was quite the story. It was taken from a closed off area that the public didn't have access to. Excuse me. So I tried to share that, and I mean, there was a picture of the flag in the story or whatever. Got the boot.
Really? And based on what? Because the flag itself was
Hate
offensive?
symbol, I guess. Yeah, hate symbol.
Yeah, yeah. I know that Getter was censoring that. Gab wasn't, but Getter was, and I was surprised about that because Getter's supposed to be a freer one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So
it's hold on, I'm just gonna let my dog out.
yeah, yeah. No worries.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Chris and Jason from Janet. Hey, Janet. Nice to meet you. Are you a friend of Chris? Do you know Chris? Do you know Janet Bidor?
Don't know. It doesn't sound familiar, but I meet a lot of people, so I'm not sorry if I do know you.
No worries. Thank you, Janet, for that. So you have a dog. We know this now.
Yeah, yes, Vivi. Yeah, I have a miniature Australian Shepherd.
A
People that
Husky
follow me
Shepherd?
would know a miniature Australian Shepherd. So
Australian
she's an
Shepherd. Okay.
Aussie Shepherd, but a little one. Yeah, people who follow me would know her. I take her everywhere with me normally.
Very
Call
cool.
her she's the Freedom Doggo.
Awesome. So now we're at Saturday. There's no Nazi flags around. You're aware of one picture. You posted it. You got yourself banned. That all happened on Saturday for you?
No. That was later on. Just
Okay.
reminded me of it. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly the time frame of that. It was at least a week in, I think. It's hard to say. It was near the start though.
Okay. Well, that would they would have needed time to look into it, put that story together, and say what happened to
Exactly.
make him sure.
Yeah.
And that was
Exactly. Yeah.
Rebel. You said that had that.
Rebel. Well, the news came out. It was actually, I think it was a government photographer that ended up taking the picture that surfaced.
Well,
And
that's what we heard in the POEC. That's what
yeah,
Dan said.
and same with the first person who. There was some weird connections with the first person who tweeted it as well. Um, but afterwards, Alexa Lavoie, I think it was the one that did some digging and was able to recreate the angle and find out where it was and kind of put a little bit more guess more background into how that really happened, right? So it was only
Right.
out and up like a short step, one flight of stairs and up and it was gone, right? Like as soon as it appeared, it was gone. So
Yeah.
I think
Like,
there was something afoot there, I
you
would say.
think so? So the
Yeah,
first
yeah, I
day,
would
the
say.
first hour, the first photograph, and then never again.
Yeah, just the one. And yeah, no video ever either. And like, I mean, if there was more, they would be out there. For sure they would be out there.
Yeah. Well, if it was a part of the
Yeah.
convoy, then yeah, you saw them everywhere. You saw
Yeah.
tattoos and stuff. But it obviously wasn't, because it didn't come on a single truck. We didn't see it across Canada a single time. It was just that little corner at that moment, just at the very beginning, and then never again. Okay, so on Saturday, it seemed peaceful for sure for you. Like, I don't think you were concerned about what was going on, but was it getting a lot bigger than you thought?
Um, yeah, it was pretty big. Immediately, it was pretty big. Like, I'm not sure if that those first days or two, but like by the second weekend, it was insanely large number of people. Um, and the footprint was big. Like at first, I guess it was more spread out, but even as they condensed things in, man, it was a huge footprint. Like it would took a while to walk around all that area. Sometimes I never even get to everywhere in a day. There was a few blocks, south and then all the way down Wellington, both directions. So there was a lot of vehicles, and depending on the time of day and the week, right, there was tons and tons of people that would come through, particularly on the weekends, like Canada, more than Canada Day, I would say.
Oh,
Normal
really?
Canada days. Yeah, yeah, just packed with people.
And did you see much violence or people fighting
None,
or getting
not
it out of
honestly.
control?
I saw zero, like zero ever. I didn't even really see people getting out of hand. Really, like people were excitable sometimes, but like if anybody would start acting at all silly, like somebody would jump and hit a sign, like kids do, whatever people do, and right away somebody would be like, hey, calm down, calm down. So like in my experience, everybody was great. There wasn't really even I didn't even notice any, like, you get that many people, you might have some conflicting personalities here or there. You see some things. I didn't see any of that. Any of that.
And you saw people with masks in the crowd,
Um, not generally.
but
I
there were
can't
some.
recall specifically, but there would have been some. I never really paid so much attention to that. Sometimes, like, depending if the certain people like really dressed up with certain kinds of masks, like sometimes they look like they're there to you notice them, but I didn't really have any problems. You
But
get the
anybody
people with the
wearing like
black
a
masks and fully covered up though, in winter, like you don't, Now that I've had some run-ins with Antifa, I'm more aware of these kinds of people, but wasn't really an issue at the time. I didn't think.
yeah, we'll be getting to them later, I'm sure, especially with your Safe Canada stuff. Um, so at this time, there's no violence, and people with masks aren't being accosted. So people that are wearing normal COVID masks, they're not being accosted or anything.
Not in my experience. Like, that's not to say it never happened. I
No,
imagine probably
but
some people did say something somewhere, or some people went into shops. So it was never like it was portrayed. It wasn't like there was,
sure.
you walk in with a mask and suddenly you're going to get swarmed and attacked. Like, no, not at all. Somebody might say, "Why are you wearing a mask?" Maybe. I didn't even witness that myself, but it
Right,
was never like
and
an
that's
aggressive attack or anything like that.
right. I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to kind of just leave it to what you did see, because speculation gets everybody in trouble.
Yeah, of
So
course.
you
Yeah.
didn't hear anybody say anything like that. You didn't see
No.
anybody take a mask. You just assumed that the media was telling the truth sometimes, that maybe somebody did,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you say, that's just
but
pure
you didn't
speculation.
witness.
No,
Okay,
no,
cool, cool. Because
no.
that's what I'm trying to highlight here, is what an actual eyewitness saw there,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily.
Even with
Okay,
shops
cool.
too, there was a lot of talk about shops and people giving shop owners a hard time, and I never experienced any of that either.
Okay.
There was people that would go into shops and not wear masks, like that did happen.
Mhm.
But other than that, I never saw anybody going in and accosting anyone or giving anyone a hard time for a mask or no mask. If I had to go in the shop, I just got in when the shop got what I needed and left, right? Like, but that was my experience, at least.
Okay, well, can you share any experiences during the convoy that did validate the narrative from the media? Boy, you're
Honestly,
gonna have
no,
to stretch for
no.
that one.
Yeah, I don't. It was honestly like everything they said was so gaslighty. Like it was the polar opposite of what was going on. Complete polar opposite.
Well, you want to give
At
us an
least,
example?
from my experience, like everyone was friendly. There was every walk of life, every age, race, creed, whatever you want to choose. People from everywhere. Everyone was friendly. people were talking to strangers, people were sharing their stories, they were healing, they were bonding. The amount of people that you cry, you're hugging strangers you don't even know and bawling your eyes out, sharing tragedies, and it was just all love to me. It wasn't always easy, and sometimes there's a lot of emotion, and people there's a lot of people were there for all kinds of different reasons. Some have been through real hell. They've lost loved ones, they've lost businesses, they've lost so much. Um, Family members not talking to them, and they all came out together and were bonding. Like it was a truly incredible thing. Completely the opposite of what was being portrayed by the media, by the legacy media.
For sure. Now, do you have family, siblings, or anything like that in the city?
Yeah, I have a sister, and my parents are in town, close to town.
And then,
Yeah,
how was their reaction to the convoy? Were they for it or against it?
I wouldn't say they were against it. They didn't necessarily, they weren't maybe as into it as me.
Sure. They didn't
But it
come
was
down to it.
never. No, but it was never an issue for me and my immediate family. Really, there was some extended family members that were kind of arguing about stuff, and I'd block a couple of people maybe once. But for as far as my family went, like I just when I could, I wanted to see my family, and I did, and we didn't get into all the semantics of it, right? Like we were so isolated, man. I just I'd go meet my old man. We'd have lunch on the back of the pickup truck or something, and like in the height of lockdown, so at least we still saw each other a bit, but we never got into the weeds about everything. Um,
Cool.
my mom, I kind of tried to. My mom wasn't in the best health at the time, so I kind of tried to insulate her from a bit of what I was doing, just especially as it got towards the end. And sometimes I get into some hairy situations. Don't want to stress her out too much, so
Fair
she doesn't
enough.
necessarily follow all the time. But yeah,
Should we ask her not to watch the rest of this episode if
no,
she's
no, no.
watching?
This will be all right.
Yeah, yeah, because we're going to get into some of the dangers that you do face when you're dealing with protesting
Yeah,
and anti-protesters. All right, so right now you're in a party mode. The convoy's in town, music's blaring, people are dancing, no violence that you're seeing, nobody's being accosted that you're seeing. Relatively, it's a very safe Canada Day in the middle of February. Is that kind of a good assessment at this point?
yeah. I felt safe everywhere I went, honestly. And I'm kind of a bit of a squirrely guy. I always head on a swivel, looking at what's going on around me, and I never felt so safe in my life. I put, my back exposed to thousands of people I don't know screaming out, no problem. Like I was just calm, cool. It was amazing. Um,
Hmm.
Plus there was nice areas set up. There's different people had little tents, you had little fires. If you needed a bite to eat, there was always food, hand warmers, like anything you could have possibly needed was down there. Fellowship, companion, like you could go talk, you could eat, you could get warm, whatever you needed, you could get it taken care of down there. So
Very cool. Now, you met Alex Cabana over the fence, so you were there. Is that how you guys met?
yeah, I met Alex on one of the first days actually, right just by a little fire actually in front of the hill, in front warming up our hands over fire, and he's the
Cool.
first interview I did like publicly or whatever. So that was pretty cool. And I got to know Alex quite well throughout this. I ran into him quite a few times, and since I've gone to know Alex quite well. But he was first vet or second vet maybe that I met, but first person I interviewed and first vet that I interviewed. So and I ended up getting quite close to quite a few members of guys that were involved at the start of B4F and whatnot. So
Great.
that was a lot of my time was spent doing stuff like that too.
So you're calling him your first interview. So was this your first time you started doing the streaming stuff, or were you doing other things and then he's just the first person you interviewed?
Yeah, no, it was first interview, first I think second video I posted probably. Before I started filming and the convoy, I used to take pictures of jets, like military jets, for
Oh,
fun. So
cool.
like I've always taken pictures, video and stuff. So I've been doing that a long time, but just kind of as a hobby. Um, I'd kind of been studying it a little bit, so that kind of prepared me a tiny bit for this. But it was just nice to be able to get in and start doing something different. And I honestly love this. Like I've always taken pictures and video. My whole life I've done that. Just it interests me. So this kind of just was a natural progression. It's nice people listen, and it's it's pretty wild. It's weird to get used to, but like to be able to give people a voice is an incredible thing because it's not really about. I mean, I'm front and center in some of the stuff, but it's not really about me normally. And
You're
and I like
preaching to
that.
the choir.
I like to be able to yeah, you would understand, right? Like to be able to turn that around and let people get their stories out. Like it makes such a world of difference for people to feel listened to. For
Yes.
years, people have been shut down and they beat down and just they don't feel heard, right? So if somebody puts a camera on them, they feel like somebody is listening and paying attention. they're able to get out some stuff that's stuck in there, man. It makes a real difference for people. So I really, really enjoy that aspect.
That's very cool. So your interview with Alex, was it like a full proper one? You planned to
No, no,
interview him, or it
no,
just
no. It was
happened?
just like 30 seconds in front of a fire. I just asked him about the memorial. That's why I'd
Okay.
gotten down there, and then to meet a vet right away was perfect timing. And he was down there for the same reason. He wasn't really an internet guy or whatever, but he made a YouTube and a YouTube channel. I think he's an internet guy now, but
Hmm.
yeah, he posted too. So we kind of were doing the same thing, just coming at it from different angles, and ended up meeting. So
That's really cool. And then you've been friends basically ever since then.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So what was your, okay, so you may have had a video before Alex. You did the 30 seconds with Alex. What was your next video that you did? Who did you turn it on to next?
Yeah, I don't even honestly. It's so long ago. It's hard to remember.
That's fair
I was
enough.
just kind of like filming everything that was going on, man.
So you're just
There's
basically
people playing
streaming a
electric
picture.
guitars. Like I got the American and Canadian anthem on electric guitar. Obviously, at the start there was a lot of honking, a lot of dancing. Got some fireworks, all kinds of different stuff. And during the day, I would go out. Like you can only get about 20 minutes. Like man, 20 minutes maybe before my phones would freeze, and like once those batteries get cold, they stop working pretty much.
Right.
So like the batteries would die incredibly quick. Excuse me. So even with warmers and I keep them in my pocket, but I get like 20 minutes of filming. So I was kind of pretty selective sometimes about what I did, but I just go and try to get some stuff out. And it wasn't until later on that I really started getting a following. So I don't know how many people were really watching at the start, to be honest. Um,
Right.
I was just kind of doing it. I put my video in and I just kept going on about my business. I wasn't really engaging a whole lot.
Okay. Now, did you get anything that went viral? Like, did you get anything that kind of moved?
Yeah, there were a few things, and I mean, yeah, particularly too at the very end, right after that police action, like I was right in the middle of all that for kind of 2 days. So I had a few videos that kind of blew up. There was a time I talked actually ran into Viva Fry too, and that helped me
Hmm.
quite a bit in kind of giving me the initial push with some of my channels. I'd been following him for a little bit. I ran into him downtown. I almost put my coffee on him. We had a little
Oh, well,
chat, and there was like 30,000 people or something watching his stream. So yeah, that helped a little bit.
a
Kind of
little
gave me
bit,
a little
yeah. So
boost.
he kind
Yeah,
of said,
kind of gave
"Here's
me a little
Chris."
boost. I actually met him twice. First time I was so new to this, I didn't even remember to give my channel or anything. And then I ran into him again, and luckily I did the second time. Remember, but
You're a quick
terrible for
study,
plug,
is what you're saying.
terrible for plugging myself. Yeah, you have to learn quick doing this.
For sure. And by the way, my shows are 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, here you go. Start plugging it right now. Okay, so now you met Viva Fry, and he kind of blew you up. You were on his channel. People got to find you. A lot more people followed you. And at that point, did you think to yourself, maybe I should put some effort into this and start doing this? Or was it just more like a hobby at that point where you were just capturing what you
Yeah,
could?
to start it very much, I think I wasn't expecting it to really continue. I mean, I was gonna take advantage of what I did and share my experience, but it was more just to document and share my experience really. And that was as much for me. Like I said, I kind of did that kind of stuff before. So like I sort of have my whole life in pictures and video, and this was just a continuation of that. But once the convoy is cleared out, and I was one of the few people left, then it became abundantly clear that there was a vacuum there, and if somebody wasn't out filming this stuff and showing what was still going on, then a lot of it wouldn't be shown. So that's when I kind of started changing and thinking more long term about this.
Okay, so when they cleared it out, you live downtown, so you saw access to it. Is that why you were there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like just a block away from like the hard police line, like you could not get in. And then on the other side, there was more barricades and stuff around me, and roaming bands of police wandering the streets and stuff like that. So I was kind of sandwiched in between police lines, just outside the red zone.
Okay. Now, were you in the push at all? Did you have the police grab you, move you, anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. I was so the Friday, the first day, I spent that day on the war memorial. And I was
Okay.
just kind of filming, and we weren't sure how far they were going to come, right? So that first day they didn't push through too far. They stopped shy of the memorial. The next morning, though, they took it and spent the
Right.
whole day pushing through the streets. So that whole day, basically, I was out getting like slowly pushed back all the way into the evening, into dark. Really, that was the second day was absolutely wild. Honestly, it was violent on
It was
their
fun.
part, not ours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
violent.
We
Like
have no video.
there was some really nasty stuff that happened.
Well, what did you
Yeah,
happen to you, and what did you witness? You could go
I
into that if you don't mind.
I luckily I got out. I mean, relatively unscathed physically. It's definitely messed me up a little bit seeing that happen in Canada.
Hmm.
I was up the hill. Like I didn't see it like right close, but when the horses moved in there, I was nearby. Um, the second day when they were pushing down Wellington Street right in front of Parliament Hill, that's when Alexa Lavoie got nailed in the leg. I was
Yep.
maybe 100 feet back at that point from where she was, and she came out, I kind of went in and found some other Rebel News guys in there after that. But we just kept getting pushed back all day, down around the corner. Similar situation like that. I got out, a few times, but it was kind of weird. Like, so they'd push and there'd be like a lot of real hectic action. And then there'd be like, okay, kind of they'd stop and they'd line back up and maybe swap in and out their people or whatever. And you'd
Yeah.
have a bit of time to pause and think. And then people would go in and talk. But then all of a sudden they'd start moving again. And it was like, it was serious. It was serious.
Well, what we heard from Alex yesterday was that's part of the design. So what they do is they will swap out so that the meaner, fresher guys can be in there, and then just swap
Yeah.
them again.
Well, you
So
could tell the toll it was taking on them too. Like sometimes they'd have to swap people in like individually in and out. And then sometimes they'd swap whole columns in and out, or but you could see like in real time some police breaking, like those guys were getting injured, moral injuries. I don't know what you would call it, but you could tell
more. So
that some of them were not okay. The police, I mean, too.
you mean emotionally or something like that, or
Yeah,
physically?
emotionally. Yeah. It seemed like there was a few different types of police. Like there were some that like looked like they were happy to be there. A few. There was a
Yeah.
lot that just looked like shocked. They didn't know what to do. Some people were like holding batons, and they were shaking like this, holding their batons. Like it's three or four types kind of that I identified pretty quickly. But like for everyone,
That
it was a completely unbelievable scene. Like, and to be happening in Canada and in my city, the nation's capital, it's still boggles my mind that it could happen or that it did happen.
Now, did you witness anybody? Did you witness the horse trampling? Did you witness anything?
Not close. I mean, I saw a guy get shot with a rubber bullet, man, standing up on a thing. It drilled him. He fell right off a barricade. Saw people get pepper sprayed, or I think it was pepper spray. Coming out with their eyes all covered. I saw the guys come through, man. And when they started pushing, I think it was RCMP, they had like 4 foot wooden sticks. They were beating people with as they pushed forward.
Yeah.
Like it was no joke, man. No joke at all.
I remember watching that whole doosh, doosh, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. That part, particularly down that street, that was some of the worst violence I found. But it was pretty nasty at times.
And they were
Yeah, and
violent with
then
anybody, women and the men and
yeah,
everything,
everyone.
right?
Yeah. Wounded veterans, like women, children, didn't matter. Didn't matter.
Now, was the crowd pulling injured people out, or were injured people being captured by the police and then taken away?
It would depend. So sometimes the police would come and they'd try to surround and pull people in behind the line. But for the most part, if people got pepper spray, the people would just kind of pull them out, and you didn't have to get too far back before you were semi safe for a few minutes. In my experience, most of them were kind of pulled out, but I mean, who knows? Like the police would advance, and once people like they'd come and they'd scoop people behind their line, right? That's where you see some of the videos of people taking rifle butts and getting kneed in the chest
Hmm.
and some real nasty stuff that they were doing.
Now, I can imagine as people were being injured and being pulled out, other people came in behind them and took their spot. So you guys were recycling people kind of like they were, just not on a clock like they were doing.
Yeah, that very much happened, right? So if people would go in and spend their time, like you can't be in there nonstop. It's just too much. So people go in, they do their thing, or have their words with the police, or whatever they wanted to do, and they kind of were swapping out. But there's always a good number, like a decent number of people.
Holding the line.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
got less and less as the time went on, obviously, but yeah, there's still quite a few people.
Now we heard that many times. Hold the line, hold the line. A lot of people saying hold the line. Was there any advancing the line? Did you guys ever make steps forward and push them back at all?
Um, not that I saw one video where it kind of looked like it was, but it wasn't really the case. It's not like the lines were never pushed back. I don't.
They told
People weren't
advance.
aggressive. Yeah. I mean, it was very much a we're going to stand and we'll take what comes to us, but it wasn't a. There was no aggression on the other side, right? There was no pushing. There was no trying to knock police back. No trying to there was a lot of people. I mean, people decided they wanted to go nuts. I mean, that was a concern, obviously, but it never happened, at least that I saw.
Right. So you didn't see anybody that screw it and he like charges
No,
in or
no.
bravehearted or something. No.
No, and it's a complete opposite. Like, in fact, when people like there's times where they were taken down, like when Chris Deering got taken down. Um, and there's the vets with his brothers with them, and like, I mean, they stood there and had to watch. It's not like those guys didn't want to go. Like, of course they
Yeah,
wanted to help, but
good point.
it was
Right.
imperative that no one did, right? So, and no one did at all.
Well, was that like, were people told, or was it just naturally happening? This was just what people were doing.
Yeah, I don't remember having any specific conversations about any of it. It
Yeah, I
just
can't
seemed to be
imagine.
understood. Like we just knew. And I mean, it makes sense, right? If we stepped out of line at all, it would be over for us. If anybody got violent, if any incidents like that happened, then everything that they were trying to say about us, that they would suddenly be right, even if they weren't. Um, and it would have been the end of us. We had to be peaceful. It
So
didn't
the
wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked any other way.
That's interesting. So normally with a mob mentality, they go crazy. Normally a mob will people will do things in a mob that they never normally would do in a negative. But you're telling me that there was like a mob mentality to be peaceful and to take the hits. Because this is what we heard from Chris Deering. Like
Yeah,
he said, I went there knowing I'm going to get beaten down. But there was no meeting. There's no meeting that said, hey, this is going to happen to you. Don't swing at them. Like there was no coordinated effort to make the crowd act a certain way. It just naturally, organically evolved to be a peaceful, but I would say kind of meek, right? You're not going to advance
yeah.
it, but you're going to take
Meek's
what's
a
out.
good word. Like the true version. I mean, some people might
The
use that word
biblical version. Yeah,
differently.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah. The
right
biblical version.
version.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Like he who has a sword and keeps his sword sheathed.
Exactly. So that's what I'm kind of getting at, because meek will inherit the
Yeah,
earth. True meek, not the current definition, which is weak. The true meek means, yeah, you'll stand your ground. You won't bow, but you won't be the violent one, and you'll be rational and smart about it. Because frankly, if they're attacking you, they look like attackers and the
yeah.
aggressors.
And that's what
And
we had to make them look like, right? You had to show them for who they are. And same afterwards. It's been the same. That same, at least for me, that same mentality is pushed through.
right.
It's a lot, and take out some of the emotion makes it a lot easier too now. But like always, like the police in Ottawa, they're aggressive. They're standoffish. For a long time, we were targeted, and it had to be the same thing. Like we could not react. They're trying to provoke reactions.
Yeah, and then what
Apocalypse there.
Alex was even saying was there's psyops. So they needed the visuals. You guys needed the visuals. One of you were going to win. Either they were going to get the visuals of you attacking them, or you were going to get the visuals of them attacking you. I'm just really intrigued how that wasn't a conversation amongst the crowd or even passed around that we need to do that. Because I can tell you from where I was in Alberta, I had the same instinct. The same instinct was don't block an ambulance, don't hit a cop, be meek. And it seems like everybody kind of figured that out somehow and then executed on it. You
Yeah,
saw that?
yeah, yeah. Oh, here, baby, come on. Just one sec, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Um,
go on. You go on. If
there's
she
dogs
wants to be,
outside, dogs inside. Yeah, yeah. Hold on
yeah,
here,
yeah, yeah.
baby. Come on, girl. Come on. It's
It's,
okay. Up. She's a vocal dog. Here, baby.
yeah, yeah.
Come.
Maybe she wants to be on.
Yeah, here we go. There we go.
Yeah, you got some of your followers.
Yeah. So like, I honestly don't remember having a single conversation. Like we talked about it quite a bit afterwards. Um, about how we had to remain peaceful, about how this is how it had to go, and that's why. I mean, that's woke the world up, right? Like the
Mhm.
reason that this was all so shocking is because how peaceful and the reaction when we were pushed, we were hit, we were gassed, we were whatever,
Right.
you name it,
Your
and we
name
and
called,
we
you're
took it.
vilified. Yeah,
Yeah,
like even before they
threatened.
got there.
Yeah, threatened too. We knew that we had friends and people that we were seeing their bank accounts were getting seized. There were hit pieces on everyone. They're attacking people.
They
I had the
threatened
police show up
take
at my
children
door
for
afterwards.
dogs.
So like the intimidation was real. The threats were real. The violence was real from them. And there was some major concerns that they would come after you. Acting Chief Bell, the Ottawa Police Chief at the time, he came out and he said that he's going to use every resource he has to track down every single person involved. Like you're going to hunt them to the ends of the earth, basically, just threatening huge swaths of the population.
Hmm.
So I mean, like it was some really serious stuff.
Now you believed him when he was kind of talking like that, or was it? Did you
Well,
think
I
it
know he
was
sent two officers to my house one time, so I mean, for me, I believed it for sure. Um,
Sorry, why did he send two officers to your house?
they called it a wellness check, but I called them. I called them out publicly. Didn't threaten them or anything, but I said, "Listen, I'm like, what? Don't threaten the populace. Like, you're the chief. Like start acting like a reasonable human being. Do your job, respect the people, and quit threatening everyone. Like if you want to have conversations, like we're all here. Like you can talk to us. But and then I got home, and 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes after I got home, Ottawa police. So they knew where I was, or I don't even know really how that all went down. But that actually shook me more than at the time. That was right after a day or two after the place had been cleared out, and that shook me more than the violence at the time. The fact
Right,
that the
because it's on your
police would
door.
show up at my door like minutes
Yeah.
after I just made a statement, like that shook me to my core. Actually, like it took
So
me
you were
a bit of
online and
time
made a
to.
statement, and then they showed up?
Yeah.
Is that what
Yeah, I
happened?
was just standing on Bank Street, man, and just did a live video or whatever, and literally within minutes of me getting home, they were at my door. So
Really?
yeah,
And you think it's
yeah.
because of your statement or statements? Maybe they saw some
I
prior
imagine
ones?
so. Yeah, I don't see what else it could have been. They called it a
Hmm.
wellness check, right? They weaponized a wellness check on you. I've heard stories of that before, but it was my
Yeah,
first
they do that.
experience personally.
Well, so they ended up leaving, didn't do anything, but they kind of
Yeah.
intimidated you.
There was one officer that really didn't look pleasant, but the other officer that came, he took the call and came specifically. Like he made sure I was okay, kind of. Like he didn't want some other guy coming, and I believe, like I trust that. That's what he told me, anyways. But I believe it to be true that he said he was going to resign after the call. He's going to turn in his badge and his gun. So
Really?
he came out and took that call, and I guess he knew of me or knew. I mean, lots of police know of me, I guess, even at that point. But so it seemed like that was kind of one solid last thing he could do, and he'd had enough. He was done after that. So kind of a crazy experience, but even in that intimidating and shocking experience, there was something kind of meaningful
Well,
there
let me ask
actually
you
too.
about this because a little sidetrack. Yeah, beautiful. But let me ask you, sidetrack this. Do you, okay, you said beautiful, so you supported his decision. But I'm going to
Well,
pose a problem because if all the good people walk away, what are you left with?
yeah, I've discussed that too. Like if
Yeah.
then you have a leadership vacuum, and yeah, that's a really complicated issue because
Yeah. Yeah, you're
and
left
there
with
are
the
there
ones that aren't going to stand up and the ones that will do whatever
yeah,
they're
and
told.
I think that has been a problem in the police service, right? And at the time too, there's a lot of officers that maybe are back now, but were suspended at the time
Hmm.
for various reasons. So yeah, that's definitely a concern. I just mean like that was touching for me personally,
Yeah,
like
no,
that the
I
guy
hear the
cared
beauty in
and
it.
did it. But
Yeah.
you're absolutely right because I've discussed that with people before. If all the good leaders disappear, then they're just going to put in, it's like in war, right? If they tell you to run your man up the hill and it's going to be you're all going to die, whatever. If you say no, they're just going to put in a guy who's going to do it anyways.
Right.
But if you stay in, maybe you can affect some type of difference. Maybe you can make a difference. Maybe you can make a change from the inside. It's hard to know what to do in those situations. But I think
Yeah.
everybody has a line where it's like, no, okay, too much. I can't stay. Like, I guess we
Yeah. And
all have that line somewhere.
depending on the financial situation, mortgage,
Yeah.
family, broken home, not, there's a whole bunch
Yeah.
of things that get in the way on that one.
Yeah.
Now, I interviewed Rick Abbott. So Rick Abbott was staff sergeant at the Edmonton Police Services, well respected, high up in the ranks, doing really, really good in his career. He went down and talked at the Milk River, and he said, "You guys need to stay peaceful. Don't do anything bad." And he also stood up for some of his officers who were being forced to eat in the shame room. This is what they had in the police station, the shame room, which are the unvaccinated officers where they have to eat because they can't eat with the rest of them. So he stood up to the shame room, and keep in mind, he is vaccinated. So he's not like anti-vaccine and thing like that. He's vaccinated, but he didn't think that was a proper way to treat people. So he stood up for that, and he made that speech in Milk River. So they fired him, got rid of him. So, and what he explained to us was they were like 99% compliant in the police force. They did the vaccine, they were doing whatever they're told. It was just a small group that didn't. And then he kind of highlighted how all that you're left with are the officers that take orders and that are compliant, not the ones that stand up, because they were conditioned by watching first. Before he was fired, there was another officer fired for not vaccinating, so they made an example out of him. Then they had the shame room, and then they get rid of the staff sergeant that stands up for them.
Shame room. That's unbelievable.
That's what they called it. Yeah, the shame room.
Yeah.
In the police, these are the people that you would expect to be adults, but here they are, the shame room. And then they get rid of him for trying to fix all that. That scared me because what you end up with are officers that think you should be wearing a mask and complying just like they did. the entire force complied like they were told to. So they're expecting the public to do exactly that. I was concerned about that because you don't get discretion, the proper discretion on the street anymore. Were you concerned about that as well when you're seeing these OPS officers do their thing? That maybe it's just the rough guys left, or this one officer that came to your
Yeah.
door kind of
There
changed your
was
mind on
times
that?
where I definitely had concerns like that, particularly afterwards, with the officers that were left and some of the people on the beats downtown. Like I was
Mm,
having repeated, or not only me, but me and my friends, people I know downtown, repeated run-ins with similar officers and same problems, like officers that really had a chip on their shoulder. I mean, there was ones that openly admitted to selectively targeting us, saying that
right.
they're going to keep doing it. Um, there was a lot of guys that were definitely operating outside the law at times. Like there was some nasty stuff that happened, and we were for sure being targeted, and the laws were being selectively enforced and applied.
For
So
sure.
there was that concern there. I found, at least lately, maybe that's a change in my tact and the relationships I've redeveloped, but I've managed to rehumanize the police quite well. Like for me, um,
Good. That was going to be my
I've
next
gotten
line
to
of
know
question.
quite a few different police officers. Even some of the ones I've had issues with in the past. We're at a point where like we can talk. Like they'll say, "Hey, Chris," or whatever they say. They don't flip me off, or for a while they would, gosh, would beep their sirens at me and like give me like give me the finger like driving by. You don't expect that
They
shit
would
from
give you
cops,
the
right? But
finger?
oh yeah, man, or honk their sirens at me and scare the shit out of me when I'm walking down, scare the crap out of me when I'm walking down the street or whatever. So it was a little interesting for a while, but it's very different now. Um, I don't know how. There's a few things there. So I have made a very strong effort to work and communicate and deal with the police like in good faith. Um,
Liaisoning,
but
basically.
yeah, the liaisons and other officers if they're around,
But
whoever I
but
need
I
to.
mean, your action is liaison. You're trying to talk to
Yes,
them and connect to them.
yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the police liaison teams have to do that as well. So I've
Yep.
gotten to know a few of those. I think they've also gotten to know kind of who I am and what I'm doing. Like you're not going
The
to ever
real
have a
you.
problem with, yeah. I'm never going to be the guy that's standing there just screaming and yelling at a cop for any reason, really. If something goes down, I mean, I used to be way more emotional about it. I'm still an emotional guy, but
Yeah.
unless they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, they're going to never have a problem with me. You don't want to end up on the other side of my camera or getting an earful. Then just stay inside the law, do your jobs, be fair,
Fair enough.
uphold the
And I
law.
think, and then that's our argument to you too. Stay on the right side of the law, and you won't have much of
Yeah.
a problem. So you've rebuilt basically a relationship with the community police officers for you.
Yeah, for me, yeah, and I think that personally was hugely important for me because I grew up, people in the police force. I always had kind of a healthy respect for law enforcement, um, whether that was earned or not. That was the case for me, and this really changed things for me. It was really weird, particularly with some police forces. Like I saw some RCMP guys do some nasty stuff. I saw some
Yeah.
Ottawa police and some other police forces do some nasty stuff, and it really shook kind of some of the foundations and some of the ideas that I had about what police were and how they worked and what was and wasn't maybe possible.
Did you have any interactions with the OPP in the city?
So the OPP were more or less like perimeter, like so they
Right,
they
because
had the
they wouldn't be
blockades and stuff. So
downtown.
I did, but it wasn't like I want to say it wasn't adversarial. They were armed and blockading the streets, but it was different. They weren't the ones like moving through beating people up. They were kind of there afterwards. There was more like traffic and containment and stuff like that. So um, I found out honestly through all of this, the OPP and through the Public Order Emergency Commission, they actually struck me as fairly professional.
Me too.
Out of the police forces that I saw, it was nice to see that there's some talented, good people. I think doing some really good work still. Compared to the Ottawa police and some of the looks we got inside here and some of the stuff going on at RCMP, the OPP seemed to come across as professional and reasonable for the most part.
Well, we heard that, yeah, like you said, the POEC, and what we heard from the OPP was they were attempting to help the OPS, and even at times the OPS was requesting to do things that the OPP said, no, that's illegal. We heard about one plan that the OPP basically shut down. They were looking for approval from the OPP, and they didn't get it. And the OPP then insinuated that they were kind of looking closer at the OPS for what they were planning to do. Nothing much happened after that because that was on the 13th, and then the 14th, the EA comes down, and then everybody's going squirrely at that point. But I think your assessment was right. So when you're saying other police forces, you're actually talking about like York and
Yeah,
Vancouver and
yeah, York,
Calgary.
Peel, yeah, whoever the
Really,
mainly
they brought them
Ontario
all in
forces that
there.
I saw that brought in, yeah, and that was and that I guess that was by design, but particularly at the end, a lot of the people that were making the push would have been police forces from elsewhere.
Correct, and that's design. So we heard that
Yeah,
from
yeah, by
Alex.
design. Yeah,
Yeah, because you don't have your local person who may know you do anything. They bring
yeah,
in
and
the
who has to live
strangers.
with in the community afterwards? And exactly, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that's one of the beefs here in Alberta by having Alberta RCMP. Are they're from all over Canada. They're not local boys.
okay,
So they're policing us with people from all over Canada. So there's no community connection to these people. And I
yeah,
think that's part
yes,
of the design. Because when you have community connection, you'll have Jim, I know you don't do that, or Bob, you know us, and you have those kind of things, but not when they're from out of town. You don't.
yeah. You
Yeah.
get like
So
yeah, the more community based, proactive type policing when it's someone from the community in the community.
yep, yep. And I think Alex even identified that as the strategy. So they had the local police at the front line, and then they swapped them out and brought the other guys in that did the pipe hitting, I think is
Yeah,
what we refer to it as.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, they were bringing them in from Quebec, even or from wherever. You know, they got those green goblins and those suits. Everyone thought those guys were UN. That was sûreté to Quebec.
Yeah,
Those
I've
guys,
heard.
those guys are serious, though, man.
Yeah, so the Quebec police, they have that, what, the riot police or whatever they want to call it. But yeah, I hear they're very, very rough.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
I'd heard. I mean, I've had here. I'm from Ottawa, right? So we're pretty close to Quebec, just a stone's throw away. So like growing up, like we've always heard stories about sûreté de Quebec, man. Like and Quebec police being something else. But those guys, man, they were like full riot gear, man, huge helmets, and it was quite the scene to see them dressed like that, man. Looked like they were wearing bomb outfits almost. Like it was nuts.
yeah,
Big full shields, heavy armor, whatever it was.
yeah, you guys are that dangerous for sure. Those hot
Yeah,
dogs
and
and
those guys,
fries.
I had to get like right up. I went right up and this close to them. They had like greened out patches. You couldn't see their names, couldn't see what their patches were. I had to get about this close to finally figure out who they were. I wanted to know who the heck was attacking us.
Yeah, do you got video of that? Do you have some video of all that?
Yeah, yeah, I would. Yeah, for sure. God, I've got pints and pints of video. There's probably tons of video that I never even like. There's lots of video I never even posted. That I may have never even watched.
It
So
sounds like you're
much of
getting
it.
ready for releasing a new video or something. Never before seen.
Yeah,
Chris
yeah, yeah.
Dacey.
Exclusive.
Yeah. Come watch
But
now, 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 now.
the stuff is kind of time. So that's sometimes my problem, eh? Like this stuff is somewhat time sent. You got to get it out as close to when it happens, and like we get so busy, like piles of stuff that never gets out.
For sure, for sure. So now what we got out of you is the convoy thing is over. The police had done their push. They came and knocked on your door. They started flipping the bird, womp womp, while you're walking down the street, waking you up. And
Yeah.
then you kind of, smoothed over the relationship. They had enough of these with you. They kind of figured out who you are. Things are getting a little bit better. When does Bikers Church come into the picture for you?
So I ended up at Bikers Church probably before Rolling Thunder, so not too
Well,
long
after
after the
convoy,
convoy.
but before
Yeah, I
Thunder.
didn't know about it at the time, but I found it very shortly after, and man, and like Scott said, like the timing was perfect. I needed. I was in a rough shape. Like I'd been through a bunch. I didn't know what the next step was. I was kind of just on my own and lost in the city. Didn't really know what to do, and I went in on yeah, it was right around Rolling Thunder. Let's let my dog out again.
Yeah, yeah,
It was right.
yeah.
There's a thunderstorm right now. She's a little scared.
She's an
So,
advocate. She's advocating for her
yeah,
niece
yeah,
right now.
yeah. It's okay, BB. It's
Go
okay.
ahead and grab her if you
It's
want.
okay. It's okay. She's scared of thunder. This one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. Yeah. Sorry. What was I saying? What were you saying?
No, we were just working our way through Bikers Church. So you found
Oh
yourself
yeah,
there.
yeah,
You're wondering.
yeah. So I went in the first time, kind of went on my own basically. And like, man, did I have an experience? Holy cow! Went
Now,
in and like I was just overcome. Like
now,
I was
this time, did
welcomed
you
in. Like
know
I didn't.
about it, or did you just
No,
find
no,
it?
no. I just heard about it. So I'd heard from different people from the convoy and from the community. So like I figured, I need something. I'm gonna go check this out.
Okay,
And
so you heard about it
and
and you
man,
went there.
yeah, yeah. And I walked in the door. I didn't last maybe more than 15 or 20 minutes the first time. I got in and I was overcome, man. Um, so I ended up just, I had my moment. I left, and then I came back the next Sunday, I guess it was, and I just never stopped. Never
Now,
stopped.
what do you think that
So
moment was? Relief, fear,
yeah, yeah, it was
anxiety?
like everything. Yeah, just unloading of all that stuff that was inside me, man. It was like the spirit came down and just touched me, and I just let loose. I'm almost gonna cry talking about it.
No, well, it's that's how much it means to you
It
for
was pretty
sure.
cathartic, honestly. Like it's hard to explain, like unless you've had an experience like that. And I've seen other people have very similar experiences there. Where they're just people are bawling, bawling.
Yeah. Now, were you a religious person before? Do you have faith before you went there?
Yeah. So I guess God found like it's been a journey, maybe 6 7 years. I kind of like for my earlier life, I kind of I don't know if I had met like a bunch of people who had called themselves Christians, but really didn't live up to what I thought that meant, I guess. So I
Okay.
kind of like dismissed it. I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater when I was younger. I thought I was smarter than all that. And I kind of
Don't we all?
yeah, I know. And yeah, but I was going through like one heck of a hard time earlier in my life, 5 8 years ago, whatever it was. And I just didn't know what was going on. I was studying psychology, trying to figure out what was wrong with me, what was happening, and I kind of psychology and scienced my way closer. And then, like in my darkest moment, man, all of a sudden there was a light. I didn't know, like
Wow.
just boom, like, and from then on, it's been a journey, it's been a path, but I've been out searching um, till I found Bikers Church, and then I found Jesus. It's been quite an incredible journey, and I'm still early on this, so it's still learning. It's quite an experience, honestly. It's been
Well,
incredible.
then Pastor Rob and Melissa baptized you. So you had a baptism
Yes,
with them?
yes, yeah. So I did that. That was quite a while ago now, but
Hmm.
yeah, in the Bikers Church. So that's something I'd wanted to do for a long time too. Um, I'm never really sure how to go about doing it or whatever, but it's something that had been in the back of my mind for a number of years. And then once I found that church and found out they do that water baptisms, and I knew right away it was going to be something I wanted to get done. So.
You wanted the hot tub, didn't you?
It's
That's why you
strange.
wanted
Like
it.
I'm kind of an anxious guy, this squirrely guy, and leading up to that, like that baptism, I was overthinking everything, and all of a sudden I was like, man, what am I worrying about? And I just like this is just me and Jesus, and all of a sudden I
Yep.
was overcome. Like a calm came over me that I'd never felt. Like my entire life, I'd never been so calm, and that lasted for like a week solid, man. Just this
Oh,
this
wow.
unbelievable calm and peaceful feeling that like I've never had a feeling like that in my life.
It sounds like a release.
Yeah, it was incredible, incredible.
Yeah. So you did your baptism, you felt great for a week, and then you started getting back into normal life, and things started to get back to normal for you?
Yeah. I mean, I always like I go to church twice a week normally if I can, and like
Well
getting in
done.
there and continuing with that experience. The people, I just anytime I'm not too good, it's always a good time to be there. So, it's become a hugely influential and impactful thing in my life. Same with the way I
N-
live my life too, and I was never like a bad or a moral crazy kind of guy really, but not too terrible. But like this is really taught me, and it gives you some accountability, and some I go in there. Melissa will be the first one to tell me if I get out of line on something, or
She'll say it. Yep.
yeah, I drop an f-bomb somewhere I shouldn't. Like, believe me, I'm gonna know. So it's good. It's definitely made me a much better person, a stronger person. It's made me better in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, they're very good people too. Now, did you get more involved with the church and advocacy, or do you still have the advocacy separate from the church?
I would say I kind of keep it separate. Like if there's anything that the church needs or whatever, I would gladly share. But I kind of the church is it's about church. It's about Jesus. It's not so much about the advocacy, and they're like that too. I mean, so I try to keep it separate. Of course, there's lots of people from church that are involved in this world. Melissa is also involved in somewhat in advocacy and different things, but the time at the church is the church time. So
Yeah, and they made that pretty clear too. Even when the church itself was assaulted with vandalism and stuff,
yeah,
they just cleaned it up and moved on with their day.
yeah.
Um,
The way Rob approaches all that stuff and handles it, I think he does a very good job of it. He doesn't get into the weeds too much and doesn't get into all the he has his beliefs and his politics and all that, but that's not what it's about at the church, right? So
right, right. Now, a couple times a day, or no, you say a couple times a week you go, or a couple times a day.
yeah, so there's services on Thursdays and Sundays, so I try to go
Okay.
to both. There's also like a men's ministry. There's often stuff going on, or they give away bread. There's different things going on regularly. So, and I've gotten to
And
know Melissa quite well, so I go in and visit sometimes, and if I need someone to talk to or I need some advice, whatever, I'll go down and spend some time there. Spend some time with Safe Canada and the guys there too. It's a safe place to hang out or to get some stuff done if we need to. So.
and are you planning or working on any path within the church towards another position?
I would like to get. They do some media stuff there where they produce, and they put their stuff online and that. I would like to learn the ins and outs of that quite a bit. I think I could be some help there. Um, get involved with that. We could parlay that too. The knowledge would be useful in my other life here. So that's one
Mhm.
place I'd like to help out. But I kind of whatever they need, man, I'm always happy to help if I can, if I'm available.
So it sounds like you're there for support. You can support the church
Yeah,
in any way you can.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. The people, whoever.
Okay, so through the church was Rolling Thunder, so that was kind of the next major event or that you were part of?
Yeah, so that's around when
Because
I
Save
ended up at the
Canada comes
church.
later, right?
Yeah, yeah, quite. Yeah,
Yep.
Safe Canada was around, I guess, through all of this, but would have been after Rolling Thunder that I really connected with them. Yeah, so Rolling Thunder was a big one actually, man, and then the Friday before Rolling Thunder, um, there was a giant, like we had like a 10,000 person march, and then there was a convoy coming into town, and it got funneled into downtown and trapped in there, and they sent in riot police. Like it was a really bad night, man. Few people got hurt that night. A bunch of vehicles got seized. Police took down this girl I know, Freddie. Um, like buried her. This girl, man. They had me by the boots that night. That's the closest I've ever gotten to being arrested. As they were
Mm.
dancing on us, I fell over and they had me right by the boot before some guys grabbed me and pulled me back. But so it was a pretty wild weekend that weekend. I'm not sure if I'm not sure. A lot of people don't know about what happened the Friday of Rolling Thunder. People here might know,
Please
but
tell us about I didn't know about even Rob didn't touch on that.
yeah, okay. So like the Rolling Thunder was scheduled for the Saturday, and
Okay.
then Rolling Thunder weekend we had Freedom Fighters Canada had a big march organized, and when I'm being big, I'm talking like thousands and thousands of people were for this march. We had like 20 police motorcycles with us, and like it was a huge thing. Um, then also a group from Quebec, also liaising with police, had planned to have a slow roll through town. So they had the red zone in downtown Ottawa blocked off, the area around Rideau Center, like I mean, blocked with police cruisers and armed police. So you could not get into these zones. Our march started off the hill and down Wellington past the memorial, and right at that time, for some reason, the police funneled. They opened up Rideau Street and directed part of that slow roll down Rideau Street directly into our march. Like it couldn't get out because our march was coming by. Then they
Okay,
sealed
so
off the end of Rideau Street and blocked in those vehicles that they had just put in there. And then they used that as an excuse to bring in massive numbers of police.
they're
And
creating the
then,
problem that they're trying to solve with the
yeah,
police.
yes, yeah, yeah. It was a trap for sure. It was a trap. One of the guys involved, actually, Norm Blanchfield, he just got his right to be on the internet back recently. So until very recently, he couldn't even talk about anything that happened. But like they were funneled in there, they were trapped, and then they had their vehicles impounded. They had people arrested. It was a wild scene. And for somebody who had been through that first police action, like it was traumatizing beyond belief to see that happen
For
again.
sure. Now, did you film any of that?
Oh yeah, yeah, tons. I was live almost the whole time, and I filmed
Mm.
quite a bit. So like I got footage of like this big cop taking down the girl. Man, we tried to jump on. It's wild scene, absolutely wild. I'll send you some so you can see what I'm talking about later. But it's
Was that online or you have it private?
yeah, I have it online too. Yeah, it's both. I've got lots of video from that night. From the start of our march, from those guys rolling in, I have the police action. I have the riot police. I was right in the middle when the police took down this girl. Like I kind of fist bump a guy on a bike, and then I turn
Okay.
around, man, and there's like a taller than me, 6'4", at least 100 pounds heavier, man. He just takes this girl, picks her up, buries her into the ground right in front of us.
Oh, come on. What was the
Yeah.
purpose of that? To send a message
Well,
or
to
to actually
antagonize us, right? And after that
right.
happened, and the reaction, then they brought in the public order units. So they trapped. First sequence was to trap the vehicles in there, and
Mhm.
then what? Okay, so then there's a big problem. We got to get rid of these vehicles, whatever. Then it was to antagonize everyone in there. I mean, they came after this girl 2 or 3 times. The same cop pushed her earlier too, and she just finally
Okay,
had
so
enough. Like
oh,
they were
so
targeting it.
They're trying to provoke her to attack them, and maybe the
I
crowd to
believe so,
attack.
yeah. And then once that happened, then everyone else would go, and it seems to be what they do, right? Like they'll go after a wounded veteran, they'll go after an elderly woman, they'll go after a young lady, they'll go after whoever is going to get a reaction.
Right, right, from the
It
crowd.
seems it seems to be by design. I don't see how that can be by accident. I don't know where it's coming from, or if it's just rogue people or whatever. But I mean, it seems too much to be a coincidence to me.
Yeah, that's the question, right? Because I'm pretty sure they didn't have a session where they said, "Okay, here's how we instigate by attacking the innocent." But a few of them, maybe not like all of them, but they may have sat down with a few of them or some like minds and said, I'm curious about that part because I think you're right. I think there was a lot of instigation and trying to get you guys to fight back, but that's not normal training for police officers, even in riot. They're meant to end the problem, not create the problem.
Well, and
So it's
that's a big problem with the police. I find like the police aren't equipped to deal with peace. Their
right.
their job is violence, right? Like if they have to do something and end something and or use force and violence, that's their game. But when there's a group of people who are within the law and not doing anything violent and not fighting back, the police really don't. What can they do? It puts them in a really weird and strange position
Yeah,
because their
but
job their job is violence, basically.
the riot ones, yeah, I can understand that. But the regular police officers, unless there's a course I'm not aware of that tells them how to attack innocent people, I'm not sure
Highly
why
doubt it.
some
Yeah.
of them exactly. So I'm not sure how. Like it seems like maybe 5% or 10% were taken aside. They're already that mindset, and maybe they're part of the instigating crew mixed in with the rest of them, and that's what you're seeing possibly. Because I'm having a hard time as a human understanding how law enforcement would decide as a group to instigate something against citizens, but I can see it on an individual level that happening.
Yeah, and if you had a few of those individuals, right?
It's all
So
you
there
need,
could be,
just a few.
like a top down, and that's kind of I've got that impression. Kind of, I don't have any insider information or anything, but it seems like at Ottawa Police, there's some stuff going on at the top end, and some specific officers that are being placed. That's how I kind of saw, like it seemed to me. Same with some of the officers that ended up like left downtown afterwards. It seemed to be too. It was weird. Like it seemed like those officers were chosen because of the way they were, not that they just happen to be the ones that are there. Like it seemed by choice. But
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of getting at because there might be a small meeting that says this is what we're going to do, but it won't be the whole force. And it's just that small group is enough. Just like anti-protesters, you just need a couple of them that will really start the whole group. Because I have a hard time accepting, and maybe this is my naivety, I have a hard time accepting that the police force itself, as a force, knew what they were doing. I think a few of them knew what they were doing.
yeah, I don't think it's a giant force wide concerted effort or conspiracy. I
Right, that's a
don't
good way to
think.
put it. Yeah, me
Yeah,
too. Yeah, it's just tough to accept. Maybe I'm being naive because that would mean some very dangerous things for Canadians if they do
that's
do
the
that.
other thing, right? Like, yeah, well, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard after this much time. I think I'm kind of able to look at it like without all the emotion and the makes it a little clearer maybe. But all this stuff is so unbelievable to begin with. Like the fact that these are conversations we are having even is pretty wild. So I would
Yeah,
have thought all this impossible. My whole life, I would have told you none of this would have been possible. But
right. Because
here
we're
we are.
dealing with the reality. The reality was a girl was picked up and smashed into the ground. We can't hypothetical that's what happened. We're trying to figure out why and how, and that's why it's hurting our head because this is not what we expected from police enforcement. Okay, so did this help your resolve to be even stronger, to be more of an advocate, and to stand up as you're seeing these kind of
Hey,
injustices with the Rolling Thunder?
you know. Yeah. I mean, like I continue to see injustice everywhere, and that's why I never. One of the main reasons I kept going out every day and never stopped, right? Because I was seeing this continuing abuse of power, the selective targeting. Um, you hear horror stories from people about police and whatever, but like to be living it and watching it happening daily to your friends, things
Right.
that should be impossible. Yeah, it really stuck to me. Like there's no way that I could stand idly by and not continue doing this.
Okay. So Rolling Thunder Friday night was a bit of a disaster as you guys were kind of kettled and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
provoked. Okay, so Friday night is now over. We're into Saturday. Are things getting cleared up a bit? You guys are
Yeah,
moving on.
so by Saturday it was a whole different thing. I mean, it was a long, tiring night, but I went and got a few hours sleep, and then I was back at the War Memorial for 7 or 8 o'clock because they
Okay,
had a great big ceremony. It was called Operation Dignity. So
okay.
Chris Deering gave speeches. There were some speeches from different vets.
I
There
think I
was a
saw
leaf
that.
raying. So they laid a wreath, basically to reconsecrate and because what happened there
Reclaim
with
it.
vets being yeah, to reclaim the monument, yeah, because they got violently taken off that monument, right? So
Hmm.
their own monument. And then afterwards there's supposed to be motorcycles, veterans on motorcycles, and other people
Hmm.
that come in and roll around the memorial. So man, thousands of people showed up for that. It was absolutely incredible. Beautiful day. Went off without a hitch, really. Tons of people, but no real incidents. I think there was maybe one arrest afterwards, but nothing too crazy. The bikes got in and out, and it all went off with beautifully. Just a tiring and long day that unfortunately the night before kind of put a dark shadow over some of that. But luckily the main event and what was supposed to go on did. So
Okay, cool. So the main event itself, any other issues that came up, or it just went pretty
no,
smooth?
no, not really. No. It was honestly beautiful. For anyone, I got tons of spoilers of that too, but it was a beautiful thing. The speeches, and to see that many people out. That area. I mean, the monument, the War Memorial, has always been kind of a special place for me too. Um, but through all this, it's become something really important, and it was a really good thing to be part of. I was able to get up there and film some of it too, and it was pretty special.
Well, I'm going to let Leaf Nurse know here because he or she says, I'm thinking, the speech Chris Deering gave at Rolling Thunder was such a powerful speech. Him and his wife are amazing people. Well, Leaf Nurse, tune in tomorrow. So Chris is going to be on for about
Oh,
10
is
to
he?
20 minutes. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
going to
nice.
join across Canada one. He'll do it for New Brunswick because he's up in New
Oh, awesome.
Brunswick.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I've gotten to know Chris kind of well too since this. So I've gotten to know so many incredible people and meet so many amazing people. It's honestly kind of unbelievable. Like,
Have you noticed the same like big circle? Like there's the same people who know each other and it's a
yeah,
big
and
family.
it's a huge family, and it's interesting to watch like some of the different as I've gotten kind of bigger in this and met more people. Like, I'm starting to jump into these different spheres, and I'm connecting to all these incredible people that like it's really interesting. It's really interesting,
It is.
and we're all kind of doing things. We come at things from different angles. We're all doing our own thing, but we're all after the same thing, right? So it's really cool to see the different work, the different approaches people are doing, and to connect with like people like you and be able to talk like this is phenomenal for me.
Well, we hear
I
a
don't
lot
uh,
about
I
the.
don't often get a chance to talk like like like
It's
this,
all
right?
good.
So yeah.
Well, I wanted to hear your story. Your name came up quite a bit, and I think two or three people said you need to speak to him because he's got several stories. So thankful that you actually took that and let me book you. Um, okay, so cool. So now, actually, I saw another chat. There's going to be a Rolling Thunder 2023.
Yeah, much smaller. So it's just going to be the like a motorcycle ride basically. They're going to ride in from Armprior, I believe it is, down around the memorial
So
and
you mean
down.
your vacation home, way over in
Yeah,
Armprior?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
cool.
it won't have that same ceremony and everything like last time. It's more a motorcycle ride. That may become an annual thing. I'm not sure, but it should be pretty cool still.
Okay, so I think it was Cindy in my chat there that kind of mentioned that.
Yeah,
So
it
there you go.
was scheduled I think a couple of weeks ago. The weather wasn't good, so it's been put off till I believe it's August 4th now, but it's sometime in August.
All right, there you go, guys, folks. August, you might have your Rolling Thunder 2023. Okay, cool. So after 2022, Rolling Thunder, you had the bad Friday night. Saturday looked good. Things were going good. Then you start getting involved in Save Canada.
Yeah, so I knew Josh around the start of that. I think the first thing I went out to him with him really was a walkout from his school. So this is before he was suspended and expelled and all that.
Okay,
He
so
he
his
he
first real
organized
protest.
he had organized some walkouts, and he asked if I could come out and cover one for him. Um, and I got to know him too over the guess it was the weekend that James Top arrived. He had been doing some marching with James Top, and I spent some time with him in Renfrew. So around that time would have been like a year ago, almost a full year ago now when James Top came through. Um, so that's when it kind of really started, and I just every time he'd have an event, whatever, I got to know him, and he needed someone out there, so I was happy to help. He's great family, great, his brother, his dad, I've gotten to know, and his family. So Yeah, I started doing that about well over a year ago now. And then things with Josh, like they really blew up. But after he got suspended, um, and I was with him. So when he tried to go back to school after his trespass was lifted, when it really went viral, the
Right, when he
most
said,
recently.
"Thank you."
So that was
Yeah,
all
he went.
planned. I mean, with discussion with lawyers, like there's a procedure and steps you need to follow. We got video and stuff of what we needed. It wasn't about like making some type of shocking video. It was more like this was a process that had to be done so that he can continue this legal fight. You know, it's being
And you
persecuted
need
like
to
crazy.
capture it.
Yeah, yeah. So that went off quite well. It was a bit of a wild day. We didn't know. You just never know how these things are going to go. But that wasn't like it wasn't about publicity and a protest. That one, that was just a step that needed to be done. And then I've done all the protests he's done since. Pretty much, I've been at. I guess I've been doing the media pretty much for all of them. So I've
Yeah, that's
also
my
spent a lot of time in the background with the boys there with Josh and his brothers, Monty and them. So um, yeah, there's a lot of work goes into what they do and a lot of planning and stuff. So it's been quite an incredible experience, honestly. Pretty proud to be a part
yes,
of it.
very cool. Now you mentioned that they reached out to you, or Josh reached out to you. Was that to be part of the support, or for the camera,
Yeah,
or what was the reason?
just asked me if I could would come and I guess support, film, whatever. Like he kind of knew what I did,
Right. So at
Dacey
this
Media,
time you're a
and
streamer and
it
stuff.
just made sense. And I was impressed with the young man immediately,
Hmm.
and happy to help. So I had a Safe
Well,
Canada hat early on. So
so what came first? The hat, like I guess the hat. They made that brand and came out with the hat right away.
yeah, so Save Canada existed before Josh and the guys really started running. I think it's from the East Coast originally. He'd be able to
Okay.
speak better to that, but they kind of took over the name and took the reins and moved forward with it. So um, it was in existence before. Now it's the guys running the show basically.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. What came first, Josh or Save Canada? I just didn't get the question
Yeah,
out. So Save Canada was
So
around.
Save Canada was around before. Yes, yes.
Okay, and then teamed up with Josh as he's doing his school
Yeah.
stuff around that time.
Exactly. Yeah. So because he led some student walkouts, mandate walkouts, a few different things prior to getting in the gender
Okay, so his
debates or
his
whatever.
school stuff didn't have the red hat. That came later.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Safe Canada have always had these, but yeah, he started doing like the walkouts, the mandate stuff. This was pre would have been probably pre convoy then. So
Oh
he'd been
wow.
involved in advocacy and doing this kind of stuff already.
Okay, so did you meet Josh through Rob and Melissa, or that just
No,
was the
no,
world?
I just met him on the ground. Like see, we were same places. He was at everything I was at, right? No, pretty much. So, and
Mhm.
looking back, actually, like way back, there's Save Canada flags and those guys in tons of my videos, even before I really knew them too well. So, we've been in the same places, doing the same types of things for a long time, even before we really got to know each other.
Did you meet Billboard Chris that way as well?
I hadn't met Billboard Chris till here in Ottawa with Josh, but
Okay,
that was a connection, a relationship that just made perfect sense. Um, they've actually just announced they're going to be going to Toronto. I think it's September
September
20th,
22nd or 20th, something like
something
that.
around there. Yeah,
Yeah,
late September. So that's going to be a big one coming up when school gets back
very big
rolling
one.
and stuff. So
Yeah, he's going to, I think, two schools. I think they named two schools that they're going to go to.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, that'll be
that should be
interesting.
a big one too. Yeah, I don't know if it'll
Yeah,
be
for
like the
sure.
one here there. That was wild here
It'll
on
probably be
Cape Cod.
bigger because
Yeah,
Toronto's a
maybe,
heck of a lot more people.
It's hard to predict these things, honestly. But here, I
Well,
know kind of what I'm dealing with. Like with Toronto, I've only been down there for a couple of things. We did a library protest, and they sent in horses.
well,
Wasn't real fun.
I think what you're going to see a lot in Toronto, which you saw a little bit in Ottawa, but you'll see a lot more in Toronto, will be the Muslim community. It's very large out there.
Okay,
So
so that'll be a yeah.
so
I also yeah
if they
so
show up again, then you're going to see a lot.
yeah, there's a lot of talk too from that community about getting something pretty big organized for the start of school. So
Yeah.
early
So
September.
you're going to be in the right GTA area for that because
Yeah.
you're going to have a lot of support if everybody gets in on that one. So yeah, I guess we'll keep an eye on that one. So you're going to be there as a supporter, protester, or streamer. What's going to be your role for that
Yeah,
one?
so I kind of mainly streamer, and kind of help with in a security role a bit, but I'm pretty focused on what I'm doing. I'm kind of like exposed and vulnerable, so When I do the stuff for Josh, like it's more about getting what they need, making sure that the video for them gets out. It's not really about me. I go in for them on those ones. I mean, it's still me, still Dacey Media, but my focus is whatever they need, really.
Very cool. Now, one thing I talked to Alex about was the security on, I think it was June 9th, was the event in Ottawa. Is that right, June 9th?
Yeah, June 9th. Yeah.
Okay. And he talked about, and this is my first time being exposed to the dangers of this, but HIV needles, and you have to worry about being poked and stuff like that from
Yeah,
the
well, yeah, there was talk
protesters.
about insulin injections, and I mean, there was some. It's hard to know how credible these threats are, but they were out there. I get a lot of hate thrown my way, a lot.
Yeah.
People know where I live. I've had stuff left in my mailbox. I've had notes left on my door. Um, so particularly for me, like they really have a serious hate on for me. I know the guys get it too, and everyone gets it to some degree, but for whatever reason, man, I am enemy number one for a lot of these people. So it's
Well,
something that we have to be aware of. And in these big crowds, it's hard to know what's going on, right? So they have these big flags that they'll put up. There'll be people like, they'll be pushing you and punching you and poking you or whatever, and you just don't know what the heck's going to go on.
well, how much injury have you suffered in any of these? Have you
No,
been hurt?
nothing major. I've been pushed around and I've been punched a couple of times. I got punched in the head a couple of times, in the stomach or the gut, but nothing too bad. Pushed around. I had my hat stolen twice, but other than that,
Well,
I've been relatively unscathed. But I've seen people get like knocked out, like taken down too, and I've seen some, wouldn't say crazy violence, but I've seen some violence for sure
for sure.
from
Now,
from the counter or Antifa side. Not never from anybody on our side. We're with us.
right. Now, when you're living it, being punched in the face a couple times is no big deal. I just want to let you know from the rest of us, it would be a huge deal. Most of us think getting punched at all would be a big problem. But that, I guess, kind of is a testament to what your role is and what you believe you need to be there. So you'll take a couple punches for the cause,
Yeah,
I
and I
guess,
mean
right?
it's not like, I didn't break my nose or anything. I got you. It wasn't crazy, but yeah, I mean, you don't know though. At the time, it doesn't. So I don't know if it's just like I don't even think about it. There's never any fear or craziness in the moment. Really, I get a little agitated, but a lot of me is like I'm a character, So I kind of let myself get a little fired up or whatever, just for sometimes to prove a point, which is not always the smartest move when you're dealing with these kinds of
Sure.
things. But I'm finding that balance a bit better now.
Okay. Now, going forward, is that the role you want to keep doing? Darcy Media, you want to keep recording stuff?
Yeah,
What?
definitely. I absolutely love what I'm doing. I'd like to do more stuff like this, more conversations, get more into the weeds of the issues than just only be out there, running gun filming all the time. I'd like to sit down and do this kind of stuff more, but definitely want to keep doing what I'm doing. I like to be out on the ground. I like to be covering story. I like to go after the politicians and all this kind of stuff. And I'm learning a lot. I'm getting better at it. So I definitely plan to continue.
That's
I don't know
exciting.
exactly what that'll look like, and like any of this, I don't know exactly what it looked like. But I mean, it seemed to be narrowing in on things that work and finding my groove pretty well. So I'm just going to keep rolling with it, I guess.
Well, we need you. We need people like you that are in the crowd, recording it, sharing it, and even the interviews on the street, that kind of stuff. Because I think that's what saved the truckers. To be honest with you, I think the Viva Fries and the Zots and those guys, if they weren't there, if we didn't have YouTube live streaming, the narrative I think would have worked far better, and they would have come in harder sooner. So, I think people like you that are streaming the real story is why it didn't get worse. It could have gone a lot worse. I think you may know that there, Chris. But it's also the reason why we now have Bill C-11 and Bill C-18, and they're cracking down on online media. Is that affecting you yet, Bill 11 or Bill
Um,
18?
I, it's hard to say really. I am pretty restricted on Facebook, but I don't think that's necessarily related. I have noticed though on some stuff like my engagement down and some stuff down. So it's hard to really know what's causing that. I have It's weird. Like for a lot of things, I found that there's a lot more stuff getting out there now than there was prior. Like there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about that we couldn't talk about a few months ago even. So in that sense, there is conversation starting to be had. Who knows where things are going to go? I mean, if they take away the legitimate news, and well, who's good? That is going to leave me, right? So if they don't have, it could be an opportunity for independents like us.
I am thinking the same way. I think C11 and C18, because what C18 did was it kicked, well, because Facebook chose this way, it kicked the mainstream media off as media on Facebook, which allows a whole bunch of us to get through now. And it also allows us to be in front of more people because they were originally getting traditional media. So I think that's a good thing. Um, but on Twitter, I've noticed some problems. And you may have noticed them as well. There's a whole group of us that get together and talk about this problem, but engagement drops like suddenly, all of a sudden. And I think what might be going on with Twitter is they're not open and against Bill C18. They really haven't commented on it. But what they might be doing is kind of what Facebook was doing, but without publicly saying it, which is just stop propagating news. And I think me and you and some other people have been flagged as media. And because we're
Oh,
now
that's possible.
media,
Yeah.
they're going to lower our reach because the government's trying to make them pay for that reach. So they might be playing around with how much reach they give media, because if they have to start paying for that reach, they're going to have ways to limit it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few things too that I've noticed. Effect, like I know on Twitter sometimes you can get labeled not suitable for work, NS or whatever it is. Like so, depending. Like I mean, I'm dealing with some drag stuff and different topics. Um, Sometimes that can get you instead of a post being flagged or one thing that can get your whole account kind of downgraded. I know there's been times people search me and they can't find me.
Yep.
I don't really know how all that works, but I do get messages like that fairly often. Not just on Twitter, but I'm newer to Twitter, so I'm still learning the ropes there. But it's a crazy place.
Yeah, I get a lot of people that are suddenly unfollowed. They're not following me anymore, and they didn't do it. Notifications they don't get. And then I even had someone reach out to me and says, there's something about your account that I can't forward or retweet or something like that. I'm like, I'm not surprised to hear that. I got lots of gremlins in my account. Weird things happen.
I've had
Um,
weird stuff happen in real time on Facebook too to me. Like times where like I really need to be going live and suddenly nothing will work. I can't post. My lives disappear. Stuff like that. But
mhm.
not too many times, but it has happened. Has happened for sure.
I wonder if they're gaslighting us, like kind of doing that to make us think we're
Yeah,
crazy or
it's
something.
hard. It's hard to know, eh? It's hard to know. And like
Well, I'm a pretty rooted guy, so I
yeah,
don't, yeah, I take confidence that my reality, I can understand it. But when the heart disappears in front of you and it won't let you post, and then you can delete that and then take out the word Trudeau and put in the word PM, and then all of a sudden everything works.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. There's definitely
yeah,
some words too. If you put them in there, it'll make a difference. Yeah, for sure,
it's
for sure.
weird though. Like I can use it in other contexts, and I wasn't being derogatory or like it's just weird.
Yeah,
Like sometimes I have to edit.
yeah, yeah.
But
I mean, a
yeah,
lot of it's probably algorithmic. Like I don't
could
know
be.
how much. There are times though where there's stuff that happens. I mean, like it seems like it must be a person in there doing something to me, but who knows? Do you have a problem with people mass reporting and false reporting you? I have that issue quite a bit.
Oh,
They
I
call
only
it
had it.
brigading, where they'll
Yeah.
report every single thing you do. Like TikTok, I had that all the time. Every single video I put up got taken down, and I get them back, but that
Ye-
slows things down and causes problems, and it downgrades your account. And even if you win the appeals, it still has an effect. So
Sure.
that's
Sure.
one way people try to silence me for sure.
No, I just had one YouTuber who I guess considers himself competition. I always thought that he was a foe, a friend, not a foe. But he decided to do some complaining. One of them got taken down, the rest came back, but one's enough for a strike, so it didn't matter if the other
Yeah,
two
yeah,
didn't
and
work.
that really matters on YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I was down for a full week
yeah,
because somebody didn't like me. Anyways, it's all over with, and I hope it's done. I communicated with YouTube. They seem to have confirmed it because they got rid of the other ones that they did. But in any case, yeah, there's people out there that just want to go mess up other people's gigs. It happens. Now that you're with Save Canada, you're doing all that. Is this going to become like a full time thing for you, Save Canada, or do you have something else on the go as well?
no, I mean it does take up quite a bit of my time, but no, it's just one thing among many that I do. I do try to prioritize that, like if they need me or what's going on there. So it's kind of grown. I've like not through Save Canada directly, but on my own, I've been making a lot of connections into the Muslim community too now. So that's been keeping me really busy. A lot of stuff to learn, a lot of people to meet. So
So
it
are you
is
following
taking a
the
lot of my
religion?
time, but I'm not going to be singularly focused on this by any means.
Gotcha. So you're trying to reach out as a liaison to the community, or you just want to know
Yeah,
the
yeah. Well,
community?
they've just because of the protesting and after the impromptu thing on when so many families came to Parliament Hill, and then with the Josh protests. So um, we have a common goal, right? So
Hmm.
mainly we're focusing on indoctrination in schools
Right, the
with these
children.
groups. But yeah, they are not happy, like so many other people. And it's not just the Muslim community; it's all kinds of different communities and community members coming together. But it's a lot of different people that like, no, like we're supposed to hate each other. I'm supposed to be the racist, white supremacist, whoever. So you know,
Yeah,
it's been interesting, but it's actually been enlightening to me. People that are, it's a fascinating look into a community that I didn't know a lot about, and to some stuff I didn't know about. So I'm learning, and I'm making some new friends, and I think we're going to be able to do some good work together.
absolutely. Now, what I was on an interview not too long ago, Dean something podcast. Thank you, Dean, very much for having me on your show. He brought that up that he thought it was pretty amazing that Muslims and Catholics and Christians were coming together. But what I said to him on that one was, I don't think you're correct. I think what you're seeing there are parents who happen to be Muslim and parents who happen to be
Yeah,
Christian, and that's what you're seeing come together. Are parents first and foremost? They just happen to have a religion as well. You're not seeing
yeah,
the
and
religions come together.
I think maybe that the fact that it's the religious people, there's kind of a necessity to stand up. Like if you have certain beliefs, and somebody is pressing against those, or trying, like after your kids, that could be why maybe the religious people were more likely or first to stand up. But you're right, it very much so. Like, so at the start I was saying, Muslims and Christian, whatever. What I'd like to say is parents or Canadians, it's families are coming together for this, right? Like,
Yes, yes,
we always hear all these phobic things, like one of the hashtags they've been throwing around is family phobic now, like that they want to use. Like, people are afraid of the family. No nuclear family allowed, right? So, but
hmm,
what it really seems to be to me is families coming together, like you said, parents. And yes, there's Christians, there's Muslims, there's Jews, there's atheists, there's everybody. It's just families.
absolutely. And I can see why. We need the next generation. We would die as a human species. We got to protect the children. None of this stuff is acceptable to us to harm children. Absolutely. I think that was a big line in the sand for the fight. Now, with parents standing up there, we now have another issue that I think is unifying Canadians. It's going to hurt, but it might help Canada. And that's going to be vaccine injury. Now that vaccine injury is becoming more and more of a thing, people are admitting it now, and more
Yeah,
people are being affected by it. They're going to have to start to admit that possibly things were rushed and not safe and effective. So I think that issue, along with the parent children issue, those are going to come together. It's going to wake up a lot of people. The narrative is going to crumble, and we're going to put an end to this. What do you think about that? Do you think these two issues are enough to wake up enough Canadians? Because somebody's going to
yeah,
know
yeah. There's
someone
people
who's hurt.
snapping awake every day, man. Tons of them
Right,
now. And
right.
and with these vaccine injury things, for the longest time we couldn't even talk about it, right? You couldn't even say that not
Hmm.
long ago, let alone put out a video or whatever. That's going to be a big one. I mean, I think I just recently there's it's the young hockey player there. This autopsy came back, and it's pretty clear. It's one of the first ones I've seen though that says, like, this kid died either entirely or mostly because of this vaccine. So um, it's not the only case like that. I know quite a few people who are vaccine injured that I've gotten to know through this, and it's devastating. But there's a lot of people out there, a lot of them out
Hmm.
there, and there's a lot of different types of injuries and different things, right? So now that it could only suppress it so long, right? The truth is going to have to come out. Now that it's really starting to come out, I think these floodgates are about to open, and it's going to make a huge difference. Because
Yeah,
people are told
I'm
this is
excited about
safe and
that.
effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. We have untold amounts of suffering and injured and dying people. So if that doesn't wake people up, I don't know what will.
Yeah, and I think those two issues, because even hurt children from the vaccine, hurt grandmothers, your aunt, uncle, like there's somebody close to everybody now that can say, "Oh, it looks like vaccine related."
Yeah, that was a big thing I thought too. Like it's affected so many people, not just vaccine injuries, but all this stuff. Once it starts to affect you or someone you don't have a choice but to wake up to it. You can be apolitical. You could have been on the other side, but if your nephew or your son, whatever, whoever, suddenly goes down injured or is affected by this, your wife, whoever. Like you can't ignore it when it's hitting close to home, and it's affected enough people that everybody pretty much knows someone that's affected.
100%, and they're getting worse and worse. Like the effects are worse and worse. People are getting really, really injured. Are you aware of the Alberta lawsuit that got filed, I think, last week?
Yes, I believe so. It's
Okay, because I
yeah,
think that's going to kick off some major ruffles of feathers.
yeah. So
Because
that was like the 10 point whatever million dollars. Is that
10.5 is
that
a
one?
magic number.
Yeah,
If it's
yeah.
enough for
Okay,
Omar, it's enough for
yeah.
Kerry as well. So, but this one is a direct result of the misinformation and negligence. So, misinformation from the
So is that
CBC.
one about CBC? Where CBC
Yep.
listed in that one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
did
So
check it. Yeah.
Alberta Health Services as well, a couple nurses as well, because they're the ones that administered it. Um, everybody's being pulled forward on this one. Now, the good news is, well, they're the plaintiff, so they have to prove it. And I call that good news because they wouldn't be bringing this forward if they didn't think they could. So what we're going to be seeing is the government on the defense having to justify what they're bringing forward. So they're going to have to answer for a few things this time instead of just setting a narrative. So I'm excited
Yeah.
about that one.
That's definitely different, right? They can't just dispute what they need. They need to actually address what's brought forward. That'll
Correct,
be
because the
big.
plaintiff is going to put the claim forward, and that's already
Yeah.
public. Now they're going to have to respond to it. So we'll see
Yeah.
how that one goes.
Yeah.
None
And I
of the
mean,
media is tackling.
people are, like everybody wants a quick, all of a sudden fix, and the law doesn't work quick, and this stuff takes a while to get. It's got to be prepared and done right. So, these things are very important, and I think they're going to make a difference, right? It's not maybe the most. It's some people. It's not as exciting or as glamorous as the clickbait and the flashy story, but hugely, hugely important. And I mean that is kind of the way forward. We need to use the law and the rule of law while we have it, while it still exists.
100%. Now I still believe in it. I think we need to
Yeah,
tweak
me
it
too.
and work it. Yeah, and we need
I
to get
think
in there. I
we
believe
need to put some safeguards in too, because clearly there, the law may exist, but it didn't protect us in this case. So we need to do some tweaking and to figure out how to prevent something like this from happening again. But I do still very much believe in the law.
well, I got a couple ideas about maybe you've noodled this before. I think one of the problems are the non-withstanding clause of the charter, which basically lets them have a pass on anything in the charter, and the ability to give immunity on a whim when they need it. So providing immunity to banks and other things. If the government didn't have those mechanisms, they'd have to tread lighter because they can't pause the law or pause the charter, which is what Section 1 does.
Yeah,
And they can't pause the law in the statutes, which is what immunity does. Um, so if we could get rid of those two mechanisms, I don't really understand a really good reason to provide immunity to anybody for anything, because what you're saying is you're above the law with that.
yeah, I find that very, very, very troubling.
Yeah, but I don't know how to. They use it to get bad guys and stuff like that. Maybe there's a different way to get those bad guys. But if we got rid of the ability for the government to give self-imposed immunity, that might help us make them stay to the law. The second part of this is the accountability. So once they've done something wrong, whether they give themselves immunity or not, we have a hard time holding them accountable. So I'm not sure how we can noodle that one, but there's needs to be a
Yeah,
mechanism to have a citizen-based no confidence. So we have the house-based one where your representatives can vote, but when the house is bought off, like we have right now with the Liberal NDP deal, the house itself can't do the no confidence anymore. So a citizen-based one where you should be able to revoke your MP in your riding, and that
yeah.
could include the PM. And I think BC has some laws around this. So BC has some ways to revoke elected officials.
Like a recall legislation of some sort.
Recall, yeah, something along those lines. That should be I think, a federal. So any MP, any MPP, any mayor, any elected official, there should be a revoke mechanism or a recall mechanism on the riding or the regional level. What do you think about that? Because the PM himself
Yeah,
could
yeah, and
his
you're right.
constituents could do something.
And there has to, like, the accountability thing is a major problem. Like there's next to no accountability, and that gives people no faith in the system. And there needs to be accountability. However that is done, that sounds like a reasonable way. If it could be done, obviously the
Mm-hmm.
government would probably fight that tooth and nail. Um, but until there's some sort of accountability, like people are just operating with complete impunity. They're breaking ethics laws, they're breaking actual law, and they're doing it with no consequences whatsoever. So got to figure something out. That's not
Right.
sustainable the way it is.
And imagine being the PMO, and you know that when you do the EA, like the biggest thing that you're going to have is a inquiry run by you and picked by you. Like that's
Yeah,
the
with no
biggest
teeth at
consequence.
all. Yeah, you choose the people. It's got no teeth. It can't do anything anyways.
Yeah, you can totally understand how it can get out of hand easy because you don't have a check and balance and accountability.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened here. They way overstepped. I think that's pretty clear. But they didn't have any consequences to it. So why not?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I think they knew they were overstepping, and I think they knew they could get away with it, or they wouldn't have done it, right? Like
Now,
and that's the case with a lot of this too. Like people know that they're not going to face repercussions. Some people, like certain people, at certain, if you and I step out of line at all, they're going to come down on us with full force of everything they have. But other people, doesn't matter what they do, nothing will happen, and they
and
know
that's
it.
frustrating.
Yeah, very frustrating, very frustrating.
Because how do you trust that government system as a citizen where you're supposed to understand there's consequences to your action, but you're seeing them getting away with way worse than anything you would have ever considered doing?
Yeah, and the hypocrisy is is terrible.
Yeah. So do you think elections are good enough so that they work, that if you get enough support, it's legit? Do you think getting in as an independent candidate, like I'm trying to do, is a path forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think independent candidates would be the best way, but I don't know how that works in real application. Like what you want is candidates who represent their people locally, like what their community needs, right?
Right.
Not candidates that just toe the party line, and like you got somebody representing wherever, but he's voting for something that's completely ridiculous and doesn't help this community at all, just because he's whatever, liberal, conservative, which tends to be what happened, right? If we had
Yeah.
if we had members of parliament, or not MPPs, whatever, but that were independent and voting for what their constituents actually wanted and needed, we'd have a whole different ballgame here. But
Yeah.
I,
So
I
you
don't
do
know
have,
how to do I don't know how to do that. Like and get this whole party system, and it's a lot easier said than done. If you look at even the PPC put a lot into it, but they got very little traction. It's hard. But if there was ever a time for independence, I think now's the time. We may have a unique opportunity here to do something like so.
that's what I'm thinking too. I think there might be an opportunity here to get a couple independents in, enough to start making some squawking happen. Because what I'd like to do is I'd like to get MP power so I can go ahead and require answers. I can go in and look at certain things. I can go in and be a pain in the butt and knock on the doors to talk to certain people.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, push for accountability. If there's nobody asking for it, you're not going to get it. That's for sure. Have you ever considered running a local level? Maybe get involved.
Not really. Never really was something I was too interested in. But I mean, I am interested in politics, obviously, but
Mhm.
I don't think it's necessarily for me.
Okay, but you get behind somebody that you could support
Oh
and,
yeah, for sure.
work
Yeah,
with.
yeah, 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 for sure. I would help support, or I'm sure there's a role I could play, but I think there's probably more qualified people that would rather do it too. So
Yeah, well, Josh Alexander, I think, will be PM one day.
yeah,
That could be
well,
in his
man, yeah,
future.
yeah, yeah. He's going to be old enough next election cycle probably, so to at least run. I don't know if he has aspirations to that, but he'd be good at it for sure.
Yeah, I think he wants to get on with his young family first. So he mentioned
Yeah,
getting married young, start a young family.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's in the future for you? All right. Do you have a family? What's I didn't ask about that.
Yeah. Well, there's just me, me and my doggo. So coming up, actually, I think I just announced it yesterday, but I'm going to be doing a trip to the East Coast coming up soon, um, and may continue that across Canada. Actually,
Really?
be
So you
leaving
may
be
come out
leaving
to
next week.
Alberta?
Yeah, yeah, to go. Yeah, so we go do different events. We'd be doing a bunch of different things, but mainly it's to network and to meet people, and be with Norm and Bridges to Freedom. So there's a lot of cool stuff. It's all still very much up in the air, but that sounds like what I'll be doing in the immediate future. Um, Parliament's out of session now. There's not a ton going on throughout
Right.
for the rest of the summer, so now's a good time. And I kind of honestly, I kind of need a break. Not a break from doing everything, but Like it's a grind down here. I'm tired. I'm run down. It would be nice to get away for a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to take a break by going across Canada and having a bit of a
Yeah, yeah. I
tour?
mean, just a break from downtown Ottawa, not a break from
Yeah.
everything, right? Like,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Now, have you
yeah.
been that far out? Is this going to be an adventure for you? Because it's a lot further
Yeah,
than
yeah.
I'm
This will
going.
be. I've been to. I've done the East Coast a few times, and I've only been out west once. I did my glider pilot training in Comox. So I flew out to Comox, but I never left the island. So it would be nice to travel across.
So you did glider? So are you trying to get your
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
PPL
yeah.
or?
When I was younger, I did it through Air Cadets. So I was from Ottawa, but I got a scholarship, earned a scholarship to fly out to Comox and did my glider pilot training out there
Okay,
way
very
back
cool. So would you want to keep?
in '99.
Okay, so you're 24 years removed. But would
Yeah.
you get back into that? Because I got my
Oh,
PPL. It's one
yeah,
of the,
yeah. I would love to. Yeah, yeah. I definitely gliding for sure. I don't know if I'll keep flying private or whatever, but I love gliding. There's a gliding club in Gatineau here that I was checking out, but I was going to try to start doing that actually before all the lockdowns and everything, and I had kind of set up. I was going to join the club, and then all this happened. So, but I would definitely like to get flying again for sure.
very cool. So what's stopping you on that? Just time and
Time and
resources?
money for now. Yeah, yeah. Gliding is reasonable actually, but yeah, just time and resources. Private is power is a lot more expensive, but I
Would you want
loved
to do it?
flying gliders.
Would you want to do it for a profession? Because there's a path forward if you do.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if my body's in good enough shape. Honestly, I don't know if I could
What does
pass all
that
the
mean?
medical. Like I've got a condition called ankylosing spondylitis. So I've got fused ankles and my back's kind of fusing. Got some issues I'm dealing with now. It's kind of just trying to figure it all out. But I mean, if I was up for it, I would for sure. But that was kind of my goal. I wanted to make it a career. And that was kind of the pipeline I was going down. And then I injured my arm pretty badly. So I missed some school, ended up losing a year, and
Okay.
then I had a daughter young. I made my daughter pretty young, so kind of changed my plans. Became a carpenter instead.
Yeah, so you mentioned that just like Joseph, carpenter. So you're still doing some of that?
Haven't been. I shut my business down, my last business. Just well,
Any freelance? Like people could
yeah,
freelance
I
with
do
you?
some work. Yeah, I do some here and there. I just can't put a business on my back, so to speak, again. And physically, I can't do the same stuff I used to. I can still do quite a bit, but I just have to be realistic about how much pain I'm in and how much I can really do. And it's kind of a degenerative thing, right? So it's not going to get better necessarily.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear about that part of it, and we don't have to get into that because it's pretty
Yeah,
private.
yeah, it's all part of life.
Yeah, yeah, but it seems like it just doesn't stop you. You're still out there
No,
doing your
no. In
thing.
fact, like I use it, man. Like that's it's like why it's the reason. Like I said, I got up and I walk in the morning is because of this condition, like my ankles. And then if I don't get up and move, I'm in a lot of pain. So that's why I always go out and I would go by the memorial and I was doing this stuff downtown just as part of my daily routine for a long time, even before the convoy. So
That's pretty cool, man. And you're gonna. So I hope you do this tour because I hope you end up
yeah,
in Alberta.
yeah.
And if you
It's
do,
sounding very much like it.
yeah, and too bad. Like, are you friends with Jeremy McKenzie at all?
Yeah, I know him a little bit. Actually, I jumped on the show with them last night for a little bit. So I
Yeah,
don't.
like
I haven't. I don't know if I guess I met him once, maybe briefly, but I've talked to him quite a bit.
well, the reason I'm bringing it up is because he wants to do a tour at some point as well. He's under house
Oh, okay.
arrest, so I
Yeah, yeah. When
don't know
he's
when he.
allowed.
Yeah, yeah. Now he might be getting some information later, so there might be something later. But of course, it has to be when he's allowed. And the reason why I asked that is maybe a bunch of you guys should be getting together for a big tour. A whole bunch of us would like to see you and Jeremy and other people like that.
I'm sure there's. Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. I think this
Cool.
like I'll start with East and just see how it goes. And this is all brand new to me, so still a lot of balls in the air, but that'll give us a chance to figure out exactly how we're going to do everything and what makes sense and how to do it. So, but for sure, there's a lot of people out west that I'd love to go see and meet.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Oh, look at that. Now it's a little bit quieter. Well, we only have about 5 minutes or so left. Is there anything else that you want to bring up and kind of put on the record and talk about?
We covered quite a bit. No, I'm just excited about this new stuff coming up. It's going to be something a little different for me, and it'll also give me a chance to, I think, sit down and have more long form conversations like this. It's something that I'm really looking forward to getting more of under my belt. So this is great. It's great practice for me. It's great to make the connections, and it's really nice just to be out here networking and talking to different people coming from different perspectives. But I've very much enjoyed this.
So you want to be the host? You want to do a lot more interviewing? Both?
Yeah, yeah. I just want to have conversations, honestly. Yeah, yeah. And you do pretty. This is good. There's so many people I've met and connections I have that like. There's a lot of good stories I could tell. There's all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
different people I could probably call up that would say no, right away, no problem. They would jump on. So
Well, I'm a
there's a long list.
nobody, and I got yeses. So you'd get a
Yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
yeses.
yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Well, there's somebody
Well,
now.
thanks for confirming I'm a nobody. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're somebody now. I didn't know what to say. Ooh.
I'm playing
So
with
I
you.
feel I still feel weird about it, right? Like because I'm just some guy. Um, and some of these characters and players in this thing are big name. Like they were people like, holy cow. No, I just give them a call, but still getting
Well,
used to it all. But
look what Island Jason just said. If you can bring that chat back up, my chat person. No, wrong one. There we go. Wow, just great guest after great Jason. Thanks so much, or thanks to you and Chris for streaming and sharing today. So I think what Jason might be saying there is he really enjoyed hearing from you. And let me just ask the chat. Give me a yes or a no in the chat. Do you want Chris to have his own show, a podcast, something regular, where there's just chatting, some news, what's going on around? But do you guys want to hear from Chris? We'll let the chat answer that one. But I suspect I know where that's going to go. Patriot Propaganda. You familiar with them? Of course, you
yeah,
know
yeah.
Alex.
So that's Alex, and yeah, I know the other a couple other people in there. Yeah,
Yeah, and we're getting yeses, and I would watch it 100%. Yes. So people want your
awesome,
show. Okay.
awesome.
Reason why I bring up Alex is Alex has gone on a hiatus for couple months as recharging, but they might get into helping people have a platform instead of just being a hosted show.
Okay.
They might look into some sort of network type of thing where all you need now is a camera, microphone, and something to talk about. They will help with the rest of it. Now, if they did something like that, would you be interested in that?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. There,
It
Alex
sounds like in a
is a great
heartbeat for
guy.
you.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I mean, Alex is an awesome guy. He's a professional. He's good at what he does. And yeah, 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 for sure. I met the other. I think his name's Sammy, maybe.
Sammy, yeah, the CEO.
Yeah, yeah. So I did meet him and had a chance to spend some time with him at Jeremy McKenzie's fundraiser not too long ago. So he's also a great guy. Love to talk to him more and spend some more time with him too. So yeah,
Yeah, well,
that'd be really
maybe
cool.
let them know that. Maybe let them know that you're
Yeah, yeah. I'll
interested in
reach
that.
out to Alex for sure.
Yeah, because I was planting the seed with him because I think they would be a great place for Jeremy, me, Zach, others. Alex, well, Alex is already there, but to kind of be a central point for a lot of people to find us. It might be a good
Yeah,
place.
yeah, and that would be helpful for a whole number of reasons, right? Get stuff
Hmm.
together, pool. Yeah, no, I think I like that idea for sure. Talk
Okay,
to
well,
Alex.
yeah, look at the thing at the bottom of the window now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Nice.
7, 8. It's still going. 9. At least 9 people in this chat want you have a
Yeah,
show.
the internet doesn't lie, so
Well, I didn't get any no's, and
yeah, yeah, perfect.
anybody could
No, I
say this,
appreciate that.
even your haters. I think 2 of those were your haters because they want to hate you for the time you're on.
Hey, no
So even
problem.
your haters want you online.
Yeah, and I'll talk to anybody. Honestly, man, like it takes everybody. Love you, trolls.
For sure. For sure. And this is what you're doing already. You're out there media. So you may as well get in front of the camera and have some more whatever it is that you want to do. And I would support it. So if you wanted to come on to announce it, or you needed a guest, or you needed to get a hold of somebody I've connected with, reach out. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, and I may need to pick your brain here or there, just a bit of advice or have another chat soon would be nice for sure.
Happy to. And if you
Appreciate
continue to
that.
watch my shows, a lot of them are going to be around enticing and helping people get shows. So you'll pick up stuff
Cool.
even just watching my show.
Well, it's quite helpful just to listen to see how different people talk and approach things. And I'm not an interview guy, so there's stuff I need to learn. But it's just a few. I've watched a few of your shows too now, and just even today, like this has been incredibly helpful. Will
Oh, great.
definitely be useful going forward, right? Like need to get the
Well,
reps in and
the one tip I can give you is genuinely care, like genuinely want to talk to somebody. The hardest thing to do is to force yourself into a conversation. So be curious and want to know about that person, and then it's super easy. You just
Yeah, I
really
should be
start
okay
to
with
follow
that.
your
Like I'm so
curiosity.
curious by nature, and I love people. I love talking, and I want to hear their stories, right? So often that it's just the fact that I'm there. Like, the people just give it to me, right? Like, if you're personable, and people think that you're coming in genuinely, then they really seem to open up.
And they do for sure. Like, my biggest surprise was Jeremy. So when I interviewed him, I didn't know who I was going to get. Was I going to get the persona from Rage, or was I going to get the man behind Rage? And I got the man behind Rage, which was awesome. Because the other one's fun too, but that's a
Yeah, two
persona.
very different things, though. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But I got an awesome gentleman, and we ended up spending like 3.5 hours because it was just kept going and kept going. But yeah, you got contacts like that. You can get them on, so you'll be able to do it.
different on me. Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
for
we can,
sure. And
maybe we'll say goodbye to the dog if you want to bring her by.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She's just outside. She's freaking out at a storm here.
Yeah, yeah. That's a storm. Well, let's go ahead and say goodbye. We can wrap up at this point now, unless there's anything else
Yeah.
you wanted to announce or put
Yeah.
out there.
I think that's probably pretty good for today. I'm sure I'll think of something later, but it's all right.
That's always the case. Hit the
Yeah,
chat
yeah,
or that kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Well, listen, Chris, thank you very much for this. I learned a lot about you. I learned that you're quite the fighter, but you're also a bit of a lover, that you want to have peace even with the police as they're flipping you off and stuff like that. So I was really, I admired that. And I really liked the idea that you went to the church searching for something and you walked out wet after baptism and you couldn't have felt better. That's amazing. And I'm very thankful that there are people like you, even though you just stuck around Ottawa, you're fighting for us and you're in there trying to get the information to us. You're not in there throwing fists, but you're in there taking a couple that we heard about, and and you're still here, and you just brushed it off. He's like, ain't no thing. So thank you very much, and yeah, thank you for taking care of Josh and team, and just being there. I think you're an inspiration to a lot of people around you.
Well, thank you so much. I was really, really happy to have this conversation, and hopefully you can do one again.
We'll make it happen for sure, there,
Okay.
Chris. You take care, buddy. And now I got your name proper. I kept adding an R. For some reason, I kept calling you Darcy, but
Yeah, yeah.
Dacey.
A few people do that, especially the French people. French people all call me
Yeah,
Dacey. But it's all good.
yeah, that could be it. I have French blood, but not the tongue.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there you go, there, Dacey. You
Okay.
take care, brother, and thanks a lot for your time today.
Okay. Thanks so much,
We'll talk soon.
Dacey.
Bye. Peace. Well, there you go, chat. That was Chris Dacey. And he's quite the advocate. And he's also got a liaison button in him. He feels naturally to be the type of guy who bridges and talks and opens. And it seems like even the police or his adversaries from time to time recognize that. So I'm pretty impressed with the way he governs himself and is working on. I hope his health gets a little bit better. I hope his energy gets good. I hope he can get back into some of his hobbies or side work. But all in all, it looks like he's doing a great job. So, Chris, look, thank you very much. And I highly, highly recommend that you start something, whether it's just once a week, pick a regular time, sit down and do it, whether you're walking around Ottawa, you're doing like an auto walks type of thing, but a little bit more commentary and talking, or you're just sitting down and reciting some of the news that you picked up. Whatever it is there, Chris, I think we need your voice out there. We need that squirrely, excited guy, and you have the right energy for it. So I really hope you do consider it, with or without Alex and team, but we get you on there. You want to put that last chat on? I didn't see that last one. I kind of saw something there. Another good. Oh, thank you very much, there, listeners. Chris has a great drive and wants to. Yeah, for sure, and he's a good soul. He's a good soul. Anybody that's friends with Rob and Melissa, good people. So thank you all very much, and especially to you, Chris. And even with your dog needing some attention, you managed it, and we got to meet the dog as well, and that all works perfectly. So you take care, and I love you all very, very much. God bless.